the Smite Challenger Circuit. Our first North American set of the day is done, and that means we are into our second North American set and our fourth and final one of our Thursday of SCC Smites. J-Mac and Trelly joining me on the desk. The Athenian Sages and the Yomi Tanuki will be our final set of the day to round out North America, but we'll still at least have one more set to go with our undefeated Eldritch Hounds. They'll be facing off a little bit later on, but as I said, J-Mac and Trelly, one more time back in the action.
Yeah, I got lucky once again. I got to cast Mambo, who are undefeated, and now the Hounds, who are undefeated, and we get to sit there and watch and see. Wait, what'd you say?
Hounds are later. That's later in the week. We're doing Sages and Tanuki. It's right behind you.
That's crazy. We even talked about it
I just threw you off.
You literally said Hounds, and you incepted me. I knew this wasn't the Hounds.
I've already broken this death segment wide open.
You told
we're not even to the
I have the teams up right here. I just got the Sages and the Tanuki. Well,
we're not even.
Never mind. Forget everything I said.
We haven't even brought up the schedule and the standings. I've already broken this death schedule in half all at the moment. Let's go ahead and take a look, though, at the schedule and standings for North American SCC. Remember, it's the final week of play for everything. See, Hounds are tomorrow with the Weavers. Today is Tanuki and
Today's
Sages.
the 7th. They're not even tomorrow.
Oh, you're right.
Saturday.
It's Saturday. What a start we're already off to, Trelly, in our fourth set of the day. Hounds and Weavers on Saturday to start the day, but today, Yomi Tanuki and Athenian Sages. Callum Wardens found a 2-1 over the Shivalba Storm, a tight-knit set between them, and now the Tanuki and the Sages are going to be duking it out. And the Yomi Tanuki, if I'm not mistaken, sitting at the 5th seed right now in the North Americas. We can take a look at the standings between them. And the Yomi Tanuki really need a win here. Not just a win to get one over the Sages, but they need one to try and keep themselves away from that bottom 2 spot potentially. Because remember, top 4 teams, they move on. They're safe. Bottom 2, they have to worry about relegations, and no team wants to be put in that position.
Yeah, I would say both teams really would like to get a dub here. Obviously, the Sages would like to confirm their position in the top 4, and the Yomi Tanuki definitely want to try and get that win up as well. So I'm expecting to see not only the best of Smite that both of these teams have to offer, but possibly some different kind of strats. You know, if you had something in the back pocket that you were like, I don't know if I want to reveal this just yet, now would certainly be the time to pull it out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is the final week, essentially, for the Yomi Tanuki. This is potentially do or die. I mean, if they lose this week, then the Sages will be at least guaranteed. If Yomi Tanuki lose, then they've really got to start banking on some other teams to find some victories out there. They really have to have their hopes going. So if you're the Yomi Tanuki, with all the changes that they've had, too, I mean, this team has made so many different change-ups, and they're going to have one more today. It's going to be a player that at least has played with their team, so not completely new, at least for now. Bitey is going to be stepping in to play for Hydrogen during this matchup specifically. So if you are the Yomi Tanuki and you are playing with the sub, at least, if I'm not mistaken, when Bitey did play with this team, it was a win for the Tanuki, so maybe some hopeful thinking for them.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you've got some of that team synergy already built up, and you know that you could also ride that confidence because, again, we've already discussed it. The stakes are very high right now. You want to make sure you're getting a win if you're either of these teams, so playing with someone that you're confident in, definitely a good look for that squad.
Well, the good news is we can jump right into picks and bans for game number 1 between the Sages and the Tanuki and see how the meta in North America is changing up. We get to see all kinds of interesting stuff when it comes to the Warden, so I never really bank on what's the meta when we watch a Warden's game out there because it's Sino and Moswald. They never stick to what the tried and true meta is out there. But with the rest of North America, we kind of get more of a look at kind of what trickles down from the SPL more than anything. Osiris has been very popular in SPL. See him banned away. Chernobog has been like #1 pick ban for Hunters in the SPL. We see that banned away by the Tanuki.
Yeah, I think the Warrior jungles are still going to be pretty strong here in picks and bans as well as, you know, things like the Uller. Something I didn't really expect was going to be that Kabrak and just, I guess, a lot of presence that you don't want to deal with. It, you know, can control the map and the pacing of the early pretty well. I'm not going to say it's the best performing god, but hey, it's something that the Sages are worried about and they're going to take that away. Notably, if you are going to ban the Osiris, usually the Erlong Shen will be looked at or at least taken away on the opposite side. Something that's always going to be strong, though, is that Yemoja, and the Tanuki are going to take that one away as well.
Yeah, for sure. Not going to let that Yemoja through. It's too much of a risk at this point, kind of allowing that god to make her way through so many of these picks and bans. It's something that you never really just want to risk at this point. You know, you never want to coin toss, is this player good enough on this god, and do we have a good enough answer to deal with that god? So it will be banned away along with Mercury and Nemesis for the final 2. That gives the Sages quite the pick of the litter to go for with the Nemesis and the Mercury both taken away, 2 of the top junglers. Still gods like Erlong Shen out there, or this Raven that has really been rising amongst the ranks, especially over in that solo lane.
Yeah, Raven is going to be the first pick, which leaves open a lot of these mid laners that we've been talking about, the Yu Huang, the Baba Yaga, respectively, if you put any sort of presence onto those characters. We know the EU SEC does, and of course, the Yu Huang everyone has been putting some presence into, so you got to keep your eyes on that. Ratatoskr, however, is going to be the first pick, and we've seen that in solo lane more often than not, but you can still get some early jungle presence there, and if you're up against a Raven, both of these assassins probably want to get some items online. They don't want to brawl too much in the early. You're going to get some extra global presence. However, Yu Huang, that's someone that definitely wants to brawl early.
Yeah, his first few levels of Yu Huang have been kind of the most action that we really see out of him as far as the earlier game is concerned. And then once we start getting towards the late game, see those dueling dragons come online, see the real damage that mage can do is where we really start to see the impact of this god. But something that we only really see over in the SCC, Charlie, Athena gets locked in by the Athenian Sage, and this is always a fun pick to watch because it has a decent bit of flexibility between its support role, between the jungle that we've seen it, even if we want to throw the fact that she's made her way over into solo lane a couple of times throughout, always keeps you guessing where this god's going to be going and what kind of strategies the team have devised around it.
Yeah, I agree, but I think just because Priv is just so good on this pick,
Very
they'll
true.
probably just throw it over to the support lane anyways, because why not? The blink taunts are always on point. You can make your global presence known pretty much wherever you want with that Defender of Olympus. Not pretty much, it is wherever you want as long as your teammates are there, or
I shall bear your burden.
get that value. But the Atlas is going to be the answer back, and it's one of those situations where, okay, Athena goes in, she taunts. If you're not killing, the Atlas is just going to pick you up, bring you back to the team at that point. So you better make sure your carries have your back, or you don't want to waste that dash in. So I think a strong answer back there for the Tanuki.
Yeah, it's something that Hurrywin specifically has been playing a lot of ever since his time over in the, whenever he jumped into the SPL qualifiers. That was the phrasing I was looking for, is when he really started popularizing this god. We saw him trickle into the SPL just a little bit, and then the SCC we've seen some shades of this god. So now that he is back and available for a lot of these support players, we have been seeing him picked up a few times here and there, but mostly in the hands of Hurrywin over on the Yomi Tanuki. Now let's jump into the second phase of bans. Baba Yaga, very popular mage. Apparently it's not just EUSC. Apparently the North American scene also really seems to show some favoritism towards this mage, Charlie.
Yeah, I know Sops was playing it a fair bit, but I just think given the fact that the Yu Huang and Baba Yaga seem to be just running that lane, unless you're an Ullr player, and Ullr made it actually the whole way through to the second wave of bans, which is definitely crazy. Mages are back on top, I suppose, so we're going to be seeing the Persephone also taken away, just worrying about a ton of that magical damage, that burst mages you want to take away. And now the Yomi Tanuki get to tell us what it is. Is this Atlas, this Ratatoskr rather going to be in the jungle, or is it going to be going to Snatty in that solo lane? I'm assuming it probably will, but there still is some flexibility to hold on to there, and I think that's why we're seeing the Sage say, okay, we're going to ban the Ullr, but also the Kali. We're not exactly sure. We just want to make sure that we touch all those. The Cupid, however, that's interesting. Given the matchup, you're going to force out relics from Xbalanque, which is always good. And Robin doesn't really care, but Robin doesn't really care about many matchups, right? He's got so much CC immunity in the kit, going to be so tanky regardless. So I think the Cupid more specifically for that Xbalanque matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic matchup between those two. Is Xbalanque's beads up? Yes. Throw Fields of Love. Now they're down. Is his beads down? Yes. Throw Fields of Love. Probably turn around and just kill him if he doesn't have an Aegis at that point and maybe some backup around him. ESET locked in for the Athenian Sages, most likely going over towards that mid-roll for them. Unless this is some kind of weird Athena shakeup at the very least. We'll have to see what the final pick is of the Athenian Sages before we can really kind of decide exactly where it's going. And Daji over into the jungle. It does mean the C-set will be going over to mid.
Yeah, it looks like Dame is going to take the Daji. That's going to bring a lot of damage their way. And I think there's a few... This is one of those matchups. We always see the Daji, and then immediately after, you picked it in a Yu Huang. And it's so much CC immunity from the Yu Huang, but Daji can always just blink in, force that leap, and then you can chase him down pretty easily. The Celestial Flight isn't really a leap. It's more of a banish, but you get what I'm saying. Force that escape, and then trying to chase down the damage after the fact. So I guess it's a matchup that most of these junglers just don't mind playing into. Amaterasu is going to be the last pick, and since that is Snatty, I'm going to assume the Amaterasu is going solo, and then the jungle will just be the rat. Sad Dragon takes the rat jungle, right? Because at first I was like, okay, Ratatoskr, that's going to Snatty, but he loves the Ama too, so maybe some swip swap there, but more often than not, I would say exactly where we think everyone's going.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well Ama jungle would work out for the Yomi Tanuki, so assuming that it will be the Ratatoskr in the jungle for Sad Dragon, let's hop into game number 1 with the Athenian Sages and the Yomi Tanuki, just to see how this first match will go between these two teams. Remember, this is the final week of play for the SCC before teams start getting moved around, kind of shifted, and getting them prepped for the remaining half of the year. Relegations are on the line, especially for the Yomi Tanuki, so they got to find themselves a win here if they want to have a chance to move themselves out of that bottom two for the Athenian Sages to maybe instead potentially swap places with them at that point. But as we jump into game, won't be anything crazy at the least. It will be the Alma solo over there. Death's Toll might be the only thing that kind of sticks out a little bit as far as it's concerned.
Yeah, I think the Golden Blade Death Soul start is just going to make sure you get some presence in this lane. When you know you're up against the full mitigations Robin, I think the best option to go is to just go for overwhelming early pressure, try and deny him from as much farm as you can get. Delny on this Robin should have some safety once you hit like level 3, level 5, that sort of thing, but you're going to get out pressured and you're going to be losing a fair bit of camps. You just can't clear the wave as effectively with this Sigil start. You're pretty much playing for, I'm going to sustain as much as possible, and hopefully my jungle comes over and helps me out with the buffs and things like that.
For now, Delny just going to have to sit back and wait for his wave to come up a little bit, going for the Soul Leader start himself, so a little bit of sustain to start out this Robin solo build. I mean, it looks like going towards mitigation, the fact that the Sigil was picked up. We've been seeing time and time again where Soul Leader is kind of the first item. Once you get to that 6th slot, then they've typically been selling that one for a little bit more tankiness, so we'll see how the remainder of that build pans out. Meanwhile, Jengar over in the mid lane, completely foregoing a starter item, instead going towards that tier 2 book, so try to get that Book of Thoth online a little bit earlier. And Sada Dragon getting hit by that CC will have the dash to get out.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite builds to go because you hold on to that ambiguity of, you know, am I going for like this Conduit Gem start where I'm going to get some extra early damage, or am I just going the Baronic start where, you know, we're going to call it the Baronic start because he had such a great game on. He even said in the interview, like, I'm not the first one to do this. Like, I just want to let, you know, it's just one of those Bumbus Hammer builds. But you get what I'm saying. You get to hold on to that ambiguity for like a late game Bumbus Hammer where you're just able to output so much damage off a stun, the cooldown resets, things like that. So I do like the early game tier 2 book. You can just start stacking as much as you can, and then you always have that option to hold on until late game to say, you know, just want to go into something like the Pendulum where I can just get crazy damage from the stacks that I've already built up, or, you know, are we going for more damage, more cooldowns, that sort of thing.
Hurrywin tries to go for a pull, but Snoopy and Priv able to get enough distance to get away from the Atlas for now, although they were both out of range for at least the pickup portion of that gravity pull. Would have only been the yank back. Solo lane, Dame will go over and help out Delny to clear out the blue buff. A very passive early game so far, besides the small, at least mid-lane skirmish that we witnessed earlier on in that 2v2. Hurrywin over here, gonna get a pick up onto 1. Throws Privative away, taunt goes through, and that's the Hog to guarantee, though a good attempt by Hurrywin.
Yeah, I think the support's going to the pro buff when they know the opposition has Hog is just to force them to use it, right? Because the longer they hold on to that Hog, the longer they're able to make sure that you can't invade their buffs as the game go on. So I think Hurrywin's presence there just says, hey, if we come back, your next purple buff could be ours, or, you know, I'm just going to be as annoying as possible, stall you out, while my lane, or Bitey, is able to get that purple buff. However, Bitey is a Cupid, so that purple buff will not fall until Hurrywin's able to join that fight. Just not great buff clear. Honestly, not great wave clear either. Cupid's more so going to get the Transcendence online and then start swinging with the time being. You know, it's not the easiest way to clear the wave in Heart Bomb.
Now, I got to wonder where Dame elects to take his pressure. Same with Sada Dragon, where these two junglers decide to go. Because if you are Dame, you're looking at a dual lane that's got 2 sets of purification beads right away. You're looking at a mid laner with 3 sets of purification of some sort, whether it be the beads, the dash, or the ultimate. And then solo lane, you got Alma, who's just got her own CC immunity built into her ultimate, though has been pushed under the tower. Dueling Dragons goes out, doesn't find anything in mid. Jengar backs in front of them just for a moment, just to maybe give him a small little taunt. But if you're Dame, I mean, where do you start putting this pressure out there on this Dodgy?
Well, I mean, you got a decent target in the mid lane because Nehu just used the ultimate. If you can blink in and then just force out that Celestial Flight, the chase down is usually pretty free. However, you're going to have some decent follow-up because Dodgy doesn't have too much damage online. Now Dame about the full Jotun's Wrath, and that's going to help out a ton. So now you've got some extra kill presence of CC cooldown reduction. I don't know why I said CC. You do have CC, though, in the Palo, but you get some extra CDR, and that's going to help you out a ton. But I do think just solo lane is your best option. You know, Snatty doesn't have the beads. It's just the ultimate. If you can force that out at any moment, you can always come for the gank after the fact because no CDR built just yet for Snatty. And I also think that Delny will be able to force some things once the Soul Eater's online, like the boxing back and forth. You should be able to trade pretty evenly, but it's like we sort of hypothesized. Shadow Dragon's at this purple buff, and there's no Hog to confirm it.
Yeah, nothing there, so Privative will lose out on that. Did find a nice taunt against Hurrywind to pull him away from the buff, but just as you were saying early on, you taunt an Atlas, and if you don't have anything on the follow-up, he's going to have a pull ready back for you. Didn't have the pickup that time, but at least had some CC to just distract Privative. So that way that the purple buff could go the way of the Yomi Tanuki, but gold hasn't really gone anywhere so far. I mean, a couple hundred here and there that keep bouncing back and forth, but sitting even at this point, no real skirmishing happening just yet. Outpost the same, maybe not. Snatty in danger. Defender of Olympus crashes down. Snatty uses the ultimate to go in. A Palau from the jungler will yank him right back in. Jangaru picks up first blood for the Sages.
Yeah, Dame just played that so perfectly, chasing down Snatty with 1,000 cuts. Briv drops in the Defender of Olympus. Once that dazzling offensive came down, it's just easy as pie. Pull him right back in. Doesn't have the beads, and that's going to be first blood for the Sages. Now, Jangaru rotated over and got the credit for the last hit. Usually, it's nice to get on your jungler's Tarkus if Knight gets pops, so Snoopy feared a little bit of aggression there, as Shadow Dragon also getting quite aggressive. After losing that, going up into the sky will be able to escape. A lot of sparks flying. You know, it's very different coming off of a set like we just casted previously where it was like 2-2 at 20 minutes, where already, sure, it's only 1-0, but there's been a lot of fighting, a lot of invade attempts, things like that. The Sages and the Tanuki, they're getting after it.
They definitely want to get some action going as quick as possible, especially the Yomi Tanuki with so much on the line for this team. But it's always so hard to evaluate the Yomi Tanuki as a whole with how many changes they've had just throughout these couple of phases. They're finally starting to get their identity going. And then in the last week of play, they end up having to play with the sub. Again, this is a sub that has shown them success in the past, so definitely a good addition to making sure to keep Bitey at least on the back foot, ready to go at any point. Or on the bench? I think that's the one. On the bench.
Yeah, Bitey's on the bench. At the moment, I'm guessing Hydrogen's on the bench, and Bitey's like, all right, you're in. And he's like, thanks, coach. And, you know, he goes in, has a good game, and saying, don't worry, when we play the Sages in a couple weeks, you'll be back. And you're gonna whip out the Cupid, and hopefully, I mean, at the moment, we haven't seen too much. You've been clearing the waves, great. You've been practicing that back on the bench, but eventually we'll be able to see exactly what Bitey can do on this Cupid. And again, I think that's sort of the matchup, right? We saw a little bit of aggression towards Snoopy, forcing out the Darkest of Nights, hold on to the beads, and Fields of Love is going to be up shortly. But, of course, given the fact that they have the same build, once that Transcendent gets stacked online, you'll get a little bit more CDR in that regard.
A little bit of CDR, get a nice little power infusion as well, just that way those Heart Bombs and those Fields of Love can be hitting pretty effectively. And it's one thing that's always kind of talked about as Cupid as a god. He doesn't really necessarily fit into the ability Hunter, doesn't really fit into the basic attack style of Hunter. Snatty might be finding his way into a body bag. Dazzling Offensive is down. Palau, one does hit, and that's the end of that one. Dame picks up the kill. And ultimate in from Privative, just for good measure at the tail end.
Yeah, now Snatty goes back to base the quickest way possible. 0-2 is the Amaterasu. Usually one of the hard carries for this team is Snatty being able to find so much presence in this lane, bully out pretty much everyone. It really doesn't matter what team the Yomi Tanuki are facing. They usually can look to their solo lane and see a lead, just like a pillar of gold. And at the moment, the Sages are trying to negate that as much as possible with the return ganks to this Amaterasu. Still level 9. Snatty's been able to stay relatively farmed up, not going to be hurting too much from that. But I think the kills are going to start to add up, and the gold specifically, you know, being spread out throughout the team. You're looking at Jangaru, who got that first blood, working on the Warlock staff already has the Book of Thoth completed, so trying to double stack as quickly as possible, whereas looks like Dame also going into the Transcendent, so needs some stacks of his own after getting that kill and the assist, respectively. So a fair bit of gold heading towards the Daji as well.
Well, that might be the best outcome that Snoopy could have asked for with a Fields of Love, is only trading out his ultimate. Didn't need beads, didn't have to use an Aegis of any kind, even if he had one. He wouldn't have used it at that point. Snoopy comes out best case scenario. It's not often that you get caught inside of Fields of Love with 0 CC immunity available to you, you know, ready to go, and you're able to just walk away without taking any of the damage from it.
Yeah, that's the issue I have with Fields of Love, is even if, you know, if you place it perfectly, obviously it's really difficult to get out of, but there's so many ways to just say, like, okay, what if we pop Sprint? What if I'm on the edge and I juke it? I can just walk out. So Cupid, very easy to counter out, but also there's some skill to it. If you can time a Heart Bomb, usually you can stun them in the middle of it, stuff like that. Bitey, you know, pick this for a reason, is trying to get the max value of that. heals him love that ultimate. And Snoopy also knows he can use the increased movement speed to zoom on out of there if he's playing his cards right. So I'm surprised how much aggression we've seen from the duo lane, though, right? Most of the time, these hunters are not getting after too much. They're just, hey, we'll throw some poke here and there, but we're here to clear the wave, and if the jungler comes in, maybe we'll fight. So far, sparks have been flying, but mostly, and only for the Sages, 2-0 at the moment. We already took a look at that gold lead, about 900, and it's still sitting about that mark as well, so not too much has been going on since those 2 kills.
You know what I'm mad that we haven't seen yet, Trelly?
Lay it on.
Especially the fact with how popular Baba Yaga's been. We've seen the single stacking items make their way back. We've seen double stacking become a little bit more popular. Where's my triple stack, man? Where's my Charon's coin to go with these Warlock Staff and Book of Thought? Especially if you're playing Baba, you get the stacks for free anyways. Why have we seen no triple stacking, man? I'm mad.
I do be going the triple stack.
I penta stack.
You go the Urshin and what else?
Gauntlet of Thieves, just like Bitey's going to the grave for Snoopy. Kill for the Athenian Sages, this time in the duo lane. And a 1v1 in the solo lane. Downey will overhead kick to get away from some of the damage. Natty's sustaining right back through. Should be fine. Mystic rush in. Gets the ultimate out of Snatty. He'll find a stun, but not much more to be had in the solo.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit more worth for Delny because Delny has a lot of CC immunity built into the kit as is, whereas Snatty, actually Snoopy's going to be in some trouble. A good taunt, unfortunately not going to be enough, and Snoopy falls down. Looks like Dame is trying to get a kill return on the Sad Dragon. The ult will go up.
Allow, second chain, third chain off the mark, and that'll be the end of that fight. A good try with the shell by Priv to attempt to keep Snoopy alive, just a little bit too much shred from that flurry, that little spin from Sada Dragon on the Ratatoskr. Able to go through the last little bit of the HP bar that Snoopy had, so a 1-for-1 trade, and that finally puts the Yomi Tanuki on the board.
Yeah, now it's 3-1 as we're seeing the aggression once again in the duo lane, just trying to find as much presence as possible. This Xbalanque, Snoopy, a little bit too far up there. Whenever there's this global presence from the Ratatoskr, you gotta watch where you are on the map. Even when you've got a global support on your side, you know, Priv's ult was down, couldn't get there to help just in time, and will be able to fall down. Also a good ult by Hurrywin just to make sure there's a little bit of extra damage and shred to back off Snoopy there so that the whole kill could occur. This is what I was talking about though. Snatty's down 0-2, still level 13 into Delny's 12. Like, how are you still finding so much farm? Top of the net worth charts too. Like, Snatty knows something about the solo lane that just no one else knows. He's able to just get so much
Does he have a secret camp that he spawns?
That's gotta be it.
Like, does he have like a command that he just spawn up an extra camp somewhere that only he has access to? It's gotta be something, man. It is wild that he has gone down twice. Once for First Blood, and then a second time early, or a little bit later on, and he is still at least a level up over Delny. I did see him make rotations over towards the back camp, so it seems that when these team fights are breaking out in the left half of the map, Snatty is able to see the way you can see a ward that's been dropped over at that little camp at the least. So Snatty's onto something. I'm not sure what, but he's onto something.
Yeah, I think just using the movement speed from Amaterasu and then the Golden Blade just clears the wave so much quicker. Even though Delny like has had some pressure relieved from this lane and like, oh, you're dead for a bit, the Robin still takes so long to clear the wave given the build. The Sigil is not helping at all. It's just the Soul Eater and the Glad Shield. You gotta do a few rotations of abilities to clear that wave, whereas Snatty walks up, pops 2, autos 3 times, and just clears and then just runs away. So it's just much faster and easier farm. And look, the wave's gone. Now Snatty can just roam, and he's losing nothing for this. There is no farm to be had. So if there was a camp to get, Snatty could grab it, come right back, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. So we're going to keep our eyes to make sure he's not getting any secret camps, but so far, so good.
Yeah, so far it's only been what is available to our eyes on the map. But as you can see, yeah, right to the Golden Blade. And he don't even need a second ability. He is just auto-attacking for that Golden Blade proc, and it's working out well for him so far. Level 14, 0-2, working on his third item. Delny going for an invade. Will not get it. Snatty able to get that last hit there. Overhead kick by Delny to get himself away, but don't expect many kills without another person over on that right side of the map.
Yeah, I don't think the Soul Lane fight really ever nets anything. I will say that Jengaru showed his hand a bit early after that Warlock Slash did go right into that Bumba, so I expect to see a Bumba's Hammer E-set as the game continues. I'm just imagining like silence auto, Spirit Ball auto, Wind Gust auto, like, and then it's already back up. Like, you already get the Dispel Magic once again. So I just don't want to face that, and unfortunately we're gonna have to watch it. So Jengaru, make us proud and show us how much CC the C-set can get out as the game goes on. I will say one thing this build does not provide is CDR until that point. You're going up a Poly, a Soul Reaver, things like that. Eventually, you're going to get hurt for not having those cooldowns, but level 15 has not been aggressed upon at all. The Sages aren't too worried about it.
I'll get a Mirrodin in that build, too.
Yeah.
Did you get Mirrodin's proc with the Bumbas? You won't even need to worry about the auto weaving in there. You could actually probably just like silence auto, Spirit Ball auto, silence them again, and then don't even need your Wind Gust at that point. Just keep firing off every other ability in your kit.
Yeah, I think you just pitched a new YouTube video of just infinite cooldown tack. Like, I broke Smite, infinite cooldown.
Did I break Smite? Uh-oh, Duel's been broken open.
Yeah. Well,
I remember seeing a Baron video where it's like a Baron ulted and then got like 3 rotations of his cooldowns off immediately after because he had Mirrodin and Bumbas. It might have been the grossest thing I've ever watched, but it got a really good laugh out of me.
Well, probably
not the person who was on the receiving end of it, though.
I imagine whoever was getting CC chained like that probably didn't enjoy it too much, and I think that's the whole point of this build, right? Jengaru is trying to get as much damage as possible as well as so much lockdown. You've got Circle of Protection up for every single objective. Even if you whiff at the beginning of a fight, you can say, hey, I'm going to go auto up some camps, cycle my abilities, get those cooldown resets, boom. Circle of Protection's back up, and we're looking for the Fire Giant once again, that sort of thing. So Gold Fury still on the cards. There's some vision around it as we see Sad Dragon sort of posturing here, maybe trying to ult over to Snoopy. Sniffed out that Priv was there and immediately backed off. There's just no action to be had. You got to keep your eyes on both of these junglers, seeing where they're posturing. Dame just doing back camps and then probably backs up, trying to finish up that Hydras, and Sad Dragon likely doing the same, just sort of roaming with your finger hovering over that 4 key. The second you see any sort of engage you can go for, you chase them down with that ult, but no one's really stepping up too far.
No, I'm waiting for somebody to get the stick out and finally start poking the bear, but
who's the bear?
Whoever at this point. Anybody could be a bear by now. Like, I'm just waiting for somebody to finally grab this thing, just start poking around, see what they can find, see if they can get anything started up. Right now, the Gold Fury, at least some vision around that side of the map. For the Athenian Sages, Snoopy will walk into the jungle. It'll be Hurrywing and Bitey up there. I thought maybe we'd get the first bear poke, but not going to see it here, at least not the Gold Fury.
I mean, imagine how that phrase was created. Someone had to actually poke a bear, right? Like, or are you just...
Yeah, it would not be me. Catch me never poking a bear. Catch me also never in a team fight in a 4v2 in the middle of the jungle. Dame goes up on the Pal Lao. 1 chain has been cleansed away. 2 chains cleansed, and only be Snatty pulled back in. Didn't use that ultimate. Dame is the one in trouble, lands right into death. And Nehu's the one who puts him down, with him and Bitey teaming up to take him out.
Yeah, now the Gold Fury is going to be pulled, and it looks like all members are here. Delny's just going to be farming mid lane. Snoopy's going to give up on that one as well. Priv is just going to be able to taunt it and go for a reach steal. Not going to be the easiest, and the Tanuki do get to confirm that one, and now Priv's going to have to ult out.
Priv is going to ult out. He's taking a lot of damage on the return. The second half does go through Heart Bomb. Actually catches him and Jengaru on the way out. But Yomi Tanuki get the Gold Fury, their first real fight back in a while, and maybe more than that. They got 2 trebuchets that were pushing up, 1 in left, 1 in mid. The 1 in mid has done the majority of that tier 1 tower's health bar. That last one, not quite enough, but 1 more basic will do so. And talk about a nice swing for the Yomi Tanuki. Nearly 2,000 gold back up to their side of the map, and experience slightly in their favor too.
Yeah, now after the fight, Snatty will continue to try and steal away as much farm as possible. I honestly thought a Pyromancer could have been in the future there for the Yomi Tanuki, but they decided to back off, just getting their win in that tier 1 tower. They've got a fair bit of auto attack damage on their side off the back of Snatty shredding that objective for them, but didn't want to go for a risky play like that. They just got the lead for themselves, and I think smart to just back up and spend that gold effectively, and then maybe look for a pull after the fact. Snatty has the teleport available, so maybe you finish that Spirit Rope or the Mantle of Discord, whichever one you want to go in that slot. More often than not, it's the Spirit Rope. Teleport back in, and then you can look to try and push that lead as much as possible. Looking at the itemization, we are seeing the XP starting to pull ahead for the Tanuki for sure. You got a level lead there in the jungle for Sad Dragon. Snatty's been able to climb ahead about a level since this whole game started, and Nehu also on this Yu Huang has a level on the Jengaru. I imagine it's going to continue at that pace. The only people that are really even at the moment is the duo lane. Well, the ADCs in particular.
Yeah, Hunter's saying relatively even amongst themselves. It is a fail not by Bitey in that third slot compared to the Wind Demon on the opposite for Snoopy. So Bitey trying to get some value once that ultimate does get popped. Meanwhile, Snoopy just trying to get consistent auto attack damage out there. Hurrywin hit by the Spirit Ball. Has the dash to get himself out. And that kind of plays back to what I was trying to discuss earlier, which I probably won't ever get a chance to, so we'll say a rest in peace to that thought. As a circle protection shot for a Pyromancer, Athenian Sages do get the objective, but can they get out of the team fight? Snoopy gets knocked up, and Snatty will go in with the dazzling offensive, only going to find Primitive, and Sad-Dragon, the one in danger, not enough defense to his name, taken out by Delny, who is in the backline, has that Athena ultimate on top of him, but look how slow he is moving in a perfect perfect Heart Bomb to stop him in his tracks as well.
Yeah, and it looks like everyone is on the retreat due to here. Sad-Dragon goes down. The Sages are able to claim that Pyromancer, and now there's no more objectives to look at here. The Fire Giant is just a little bit too far away given the DPS that everyone has. You know, Circle of Protection is down. We saw Nehu go for the Dueling Dragon just to try and go for a steal attempt, but the Pyromancer was dropped and then reset after the fact. So it's going to be back to the old lanes, and given the fact that Sad-Dragon's dead, that's going to hurt the most in this fight, right? The XP that we were talking about should go in favor of the Sages as this farm continues, but Hurrywin, Snatty, and Bitey are leading the charge onto this left lane, trying to get aggressive, and Snatty's actually wrapping around here. Could be some trouble.
I'll just mosey on into the tier 1 tower and find some damage to him, and Snoopy eat a lot back. Fields of Love gets the purification beads from Snoopy. And now it's the Athenian Sages maybe on the return. Primitive is here, dash taunt, finds Nehu. But Nehu doesn't have his beads and won't have any follow-up against him. Could have been risky if anybody was nearby, but fortunate for Nehu, not a single soul in the area.
Yeah, I looked at Nehu and I was like, wow, I'm surprised he didn't like panic beads that. Then I realized the beads weren't even there. If that's me, I would be so scared that there was more follow-up to Priv's taunt, but a little bit ahead of the pack and not too much follow-up in that regard. So probably good that he didn't have the beads, because you didn't even have to question, like, should I beads this? There was no beads to be had. Now the Yu Huang sitting at 1-0. About to finish that Obsidian Shard. That would be a large power spike for the Tanuki, as well as Sad-Dragon finishing that Titan's Bane. So some more penetration online. These tankier targets on the Sages would not want to get hit by these abilities if those items were completed. So I want to keep my eyes on those and watch the power spikes for the Tanuki as this goes on. But relatively even game here, J-Mac. We're just really waiting for that one fight that's going to explode this gold lead in favor for one squad. You got about 45 seconds on the Oni Fury, which certainly could be that catalyst for that gold lead, right? If you get that presence, you get those enhanced minions, you're able to split up the map a little bit. Unless you're sending someone like on a Priv, for example, if there's not too much global presence for someone clearing that and then also getting over to the Fire Giant, so that'd be a big buff to whichever team is able to land this fight around the objective. You gotta look towards Jangaru and say, hey, if the Tanuki are pulling this, they have to CC Jangaru and not let that Circle of Protection get out, and if the Sages are pulling this, they gotta make sure that confirmation's on point.
Very slight deviation for the support builds as far as what's been built as
no Chronos
in a third. Yeah, well, no Chronos Pendant. What a heartbreaker that one is. But it's a Pridwin for Hurrywin versus a Wingblade on the opposite side for the Athenian Sages and Primitive. So Primitive really worried about what Bitey has been doing with the slows. Won't need to worry about him if only Snatty is here. Caught in the middle of 4, but Snatty so tanky. That Spirit Rope giving him so much extra mitigation off that immediate taunt. He's able to dash on out and sustain right back up as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, Snatty did lose the beads, but when you have the Dazzling Offensive, shouldn't be too much of an issue, as it looks like. Once again, the Sages are trying to set up an ambush. One taunt in, only connects on Hurrywin. He's not going to take too much damage.
No, Hurrywin will pull back in, too, with the gravity pull around his Astrolabe. Drops the ultimate on the middle of 3 and gets Circle of Protection out, but Sad-Dragon now up in the sky behind everybody, waiting for that Circle Protection to pop to see where he'll dunk down. Into the middle of 2, gets 2 sets of beads, and a Fields of Love will catch out Delny. A pull back will yank Delny to the rest of the team and into the clutches of Bitey.
Yeah, looks like the Tanuki are trying to chase this one down. Dame is so weak, and Sad-Dragon blinks in, is able to confirm that one, while Snoopy he's gone.
Snoopy is absolutely gone, and Jangaru might be too. Some good damage returned against Snatty by Jangaru. Will keep this E set alive for now, but with all 5 members of the Yomi Tanuki alive and semi-healthy, it seems that a push towards the Fire Giant is a call for the Chaos side team. Primitive is here, and all it will take is one good dash taunt to stop this, but
nope.
One good dash taunt will not be there. One Spirit Ball from over the wall will not be there. It'll just be a Fire Giant for the Yomi Tanuki.
Yeah, I didn't love that I didn't love that fight from the Sages. It looks like they sat there, they were waiting to set up the ambush. The dash taunt only hits Hurrywind. It looks like Snatty was the target because no beads after the fact. You know, Jengar was forced into using the Circle of Protection kind of late into that engagement and just using it defensively. And then just never popped it. Sort of said, everyone sit here. We're all going to sit here and wait for the full duration of the Circle of Protection, which essentially meant Snoopy wasn't able to get active in that fight. You know, no one was able to dive with the rest of the squad. So a very split fight, I think, because everyone wanted the healing, but they were also like, should we fight? And after the fact, it looks like Tanuki were able to run away with them pretty freely. Now the Oni Fury is being burned through. The Gamma Ray Burst was dropped just for some extra DPS, and now Oni Fury will go down as Snoopy just gets to watch the laser beam just slide right past him on his way to lane. As the Omi Tanuki have all the cards in the world now. They're able to use this Fury to their effect. So hey, we're going to have some enhanced minions coming down. You can really just decide how they want to pick this map open.
Yeah, as if the sound cue, the Gold Fury has been destroyed. Sound cue wasn't enough. There's an extra laser beam there for Snoopy to know that it officially has been taken down. So is the Tier 1 tower in the duo lane. So only Tier 2s remain on the Athenian Sages side of the map. Now this might not remain for much longer. As we see the Yomi Tanuki start to make their group up on the left side. For the Athenian Sages, do you make a stand at these Tier 2s with the game so close and with Satadragon so low and caught out? Maybe I can answer my own question there, but do you imagine here as Athenian Sages just hold the defense at these Tier 2s?
No, I think you should dash in as Priv, try to catch Satadragon, maybe force his beats and
That's a good call. You should do that.
That's what I would do if I was them. I don't know. I just think that's the best play. So we'll see if they're able to do that. But jokes aside, Satadragon did get the ult and the beads forced. So now one less engage tool for the Tanuki, and the Sages are sort of on the offensive here. They're saying we're going to defend this as much as we can until your Ratatosker joins the fight, right? We know this is a decent fight for us. It's a 3v3 on this Tier 2 tower, where Dame is sort of holding down mid against Snatty by themselves. And we'll just back up and have to forfeit this one, because Satadragon was lurking by the wayside. Tier 2 tower on left, still full HP, but I imagine will be looked at eventually if we see some wraparound. But Snatty and Satadragon are just heading right. They're not even worried about that tower.
They do have an Oni minion wave pushing up the right side, so Satadragon going to make the most use of that possible. And take away the second of 3 Tier 2 towers, only the one in duo lane now left standing. And Nayu's not even nearby to really help with that push just yet. You can see the Golden Experience have spiked down pretty heavily for the Yomi Tanuki, 8,000 gold up. Experience, not really so much of an issue anymore. It's just the supports who haven't hit their final real power spikes, which is kind of that level 17 point when they can get those starter items upgraded. Hurrywind has been there for a while, and I gotta give credit to Hurrywind. He has been one of the few supports that's been able to find so much consistent farm across the map, no matter the situation of his team.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where as long as the team's ahead, it's like, okay, me and the support will share some farm here, but you know, I think of like different support playstyles, like Awesome Jake, for example, who just like starves himself from farm on purpose to make sure the team can get in that situation. But when your team's ahead, when your team's winning, there's no reason to starve yourself, and you have this beefy tank that can stand in the front line, set up for you. This Atlas brings so much to a team fight that it's nice to have, you know, him be able to live through these fights and pick up as many opponents as possible and just keep cycling those abilities. Has the spectral armor finish, as well as a lot of CDR with the Pridwin and Spirit Robe. Everyone's able to usually start off these fights with the Gamma Ray Burst, pop the Frenzy, and then just engage on the opposition. Fire Giant is going to be up in about 3 seconds, and that buff is gone. And then it's time to set up and get some vision down. This next Fire Giant fight could be the one that really decides this game. The Tanuki are up about 9,000 gold, so certainly in their favor. But that doesn't mean the Sages don't have some DPS on their side.
Yeah, this won't be a guaranteed Fire Giant either way for these teams. Nehu doesn't really have the best confirmation himself, and going up against Iset, who has probably the best confirmation of anybody, so long as he can time that ultimate correctly. So it's going to be a bit of a coin toss if the Tanuki decide to start this one up without any warning or without any vision on where the enemy team is. Imagine they're definitely going to want to find a pick or at least force the ultimate at Jengar before starting this one up fully.
Yeah, that would be the ideal play. Jengar did finish that Bumbus Hammer, so has some cooldown reset possibility if they try to play off that. Greywind is going to lead the charge here with Nehu, has that Dow Cultivation charged up, that big root. It's just being ready to be sent out at any given moment, as Fire Giant will crash in here shortly. But you got vision on all sides. The Trebuchet is in left lane running down, so eventually that Tier 2 tower should be looked at. But given the situation, it's just up to the Tanuki to stall this one out. and wait until that tower goes down. They don't have to pull this right away.
They don't. Now that it is back in, though, Yomi Tanuki are the ones with the offensive positioning around the pit. Hope Hardwin doesn't catch anybody. Dueling Dragons only tags Delny, and it doesn't really do a whole lot of damage to this Rav. And the Gamma Ray burst fired up. Snatty in danger. The burst has been fired, but it's Snatty who's the one in danger. Sonic does catch the dash, and Delny has dove to the backline, but it's just Delny versus 3, but nobody's doing any damage to him.
Yeah, and it looks like a full retreat. Dragon's pushing mid lane. No one's on the Fire Giant. Team's backing up. I'm just going to say it. That was a weird fight. I mean, Nehu whiffs the ultimate. Hurrywin drops the ult for really no reason. Everyone just starts retreating. And finally now, the Tanuki are going to pull this enhanced Fire Giant, by the way. It will be enhanced in 3 seconds. Dragon goes up to the sky.
It's going to be close. In goes Privative, finds the taunt onto 1, but Fire Giant hasn't been fully pulled just yet. Instead, it's Snoopy who's been dropped down, caught in the middle. Nehu credited to that one. In the backline is Privative, who gets bursted by Nehu as well. The 3 strong of the backline for the Tanuki holding out. Delny doing his best to do anything in the backline. Pal Lao comes through, but will Dame find anybody? The answer to that is no. All 3 chains miss. Hurrywin tries to go for the pickup, but a good silence. Holds out for a little while longer. Jangaru finds a double kill of his own. It's 3 versus 2. Delny up downs right in place. There's a heart bomb on top of it. A lot of damage coming through for the Sages, but it's just not enough to burst through this tanky Robin.
And Jangaru just provides so, I mean, that's the consistent dispelled magic that is also adding on top of Delny's shield, just so much protection there, and that's the benefit of this Bumba's Hammer build. I think any other build, you're probably getting a wipe there and you're able to pull the enhanced Fire Giant, but Jangaru had so much cooldowns that was able to stall off the onslaught that was coming from the Yomi Tanuki. Unfortunate for Dame. How many Palas have we seen where he unfortunately whiffs the 3 Palas? That's the second one I can see, so he didn't get the full value out of that. Would have loved to force some relics, or maybe if you hit a couple of those, you're able to get out safely. But it looks like a full-on reset here for both squads as Dame spawns in about 8 seconds. Hurrywin spawns in for 3, and we get another look at the Fire Giant. This time around will be enhanced. It was enhanced last time, but wasn't when they first started pulling it. Completely done, and now the enhanced Fire Giant is here. The Sages and the Tanuki, at this point, you know, there still is a massive gold lead in favor for the Tanuki, but we're at the point where these last bit of items aren't going to change your DPS that much. It's still anyone's game. It really just depends on who can get a great engage. We saw Tanuki go for a little bit of Nehu starting off the fight with the Dragon, the Dueling Dragons. Maybe just a linear engage from Hurrywin or Priv could start up this next one.
Could be anything to get this going. Like a blink engage from Privative. Gets the taunt up against Hurrywin, but no beads were available to him, so no beads had to be burned in that instance. Pyromancer will be looked at instead by the Athenian Sages after their attempted start up. Delny overhead kicks away. Athenian Sages get the Pyromancer and try and even things up a little bit more. But the Yomi Tanuki still have the offensive position around the Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, there is a fair bit of vision on the side of the Tanuki as the Athenian Sages really just have to walk up here to try and find something. Delny, feeling extremely confident, will just run to the back line. Hasn't taken too much damage. Priv misses a taunt.
Yeah, no, he's looking pretty good. Got his shield still back up and still fighting into Hurrywin. And now it's Dame versus Dragon. Does Dragon live through the dot damage? No, he does not! The burn is just too much. And that's 1 down for the Yomi Tanuki. Their jungler being gone. It's going to be a massive deficit for the Tanuki to fight into this Fire Giant.
Jangaru doesn't have the circle of protection, though. Is starting to chip away at some of those cooldowns. Snatty already walks up to this fight, though. They don't want to let this one go for free.
Well, Snatty dashes away from the team. They're now separated 1-2-1. Up on the Pal Lao. Brings back 1. No, it does not. Quickly, Snatty will be able to get himself out of there. That's another set of defenses down for the Yomi Tanuki. Ultimate not available for Snatty for a few more seconds.
Yeah, Jangaru keeps wailing away at that Fire Giant with those auto attacks, trying to get circle protection back up. The ultimate does get dropped, but no one is going to be stunned away, and it looks like Delny would love to dive this backline. Is holding on to that Mystic Rush.
Spirit Ball did a lot of damage to Nehu. Delny goes into the backline, but gets pushed away by Hurrywin. And now the Sages go right back to the Fire Giant. This time, Jangaru does have his ultimate, but Dame doesn't have any health. As Snatty's just about and has his ultimate back. Will find the stun up against Jangaru, get the circle protection, and Delny in the middle of 4 yet again, but a massive Spirit Ball and a good Dueling Dragons will keep this fight interesting enough for Snatty to find the double and chase in. Jangaru's got some backup, but he's going to need a lot more. Taunton will keep Jangaru alive, but it won't keep Privative alive.
Yeah, Jangaru is going to be the first one being looked at here from the chase. They have a fair bit of self-peel as Delny is trying to get Jangaru out. One Astrolabe from Hurrywin could do it, and he's gone.
Astrolabe will finish that one out. It's only Delny left alive. Quarter HP on the Robin. And 5 strong from the Yomi Tanuki with a minion wave right at the front door in the mid lane. The Yomi Tanuki are poised to take this game. 18 seconds until Dame is back up, and that's not going to be enough time. Does Delny have the damage to stay alive, not through a frenzy, and not through all of the CC that has been provided? Yomi Tanuki take game number 1.
Oh, Delny survived, just unfortunately the Titan did not. That's one of the issues with the full mitigation style of Robin, but I'm not sure many people can stand up 1v5 up in the Titan room, but you can live, but you're not going to be able to do enough damage to stop that one. Just what a back and forth game. I mean, it looked like the Tanuki were able to run away with it, then the fight sort of gets botched. Sadran gets picked before it even starts, and then they stalled out. They weren't able to get the Fire Giant, so, they just took a little bit too long there.
Yeah, Yomi Tanuki able to come out on top in game number 1. Can they keep that same pacing? We'll find out. Game 2 right after this. Welcome back to the North American Smite Challenger Circuit. The Yomi Tanuki find a win over the Athenian Sages in Game 1. And even despite the best efforts of the Sages being able to find a quick pick on Sada Dragon before the Fire Giant fight even goes through, the Yomi Tanuki are able to hold themselves out just long enough for Sada Dragon to respawn, turn around, take a team fight, and then end out that game. But it took a while for them to get there, Charlie. It wasn't like we just suddenly appeared at Fire Giant and, oh, hey, now it's the final team fight. A lot of back and forth throughout the entirety of that game.
Yeah, the Sages put a ton of pressure and presence onto Snatty in that solo lane, but it just seemed like Snatty didn't really care. He was able to completely stay above and farm, just run camps with this Golden Blade style Amaterasu build, and even though the Raven was, getting the pressure in that lane and never really got ganked, it just didn't seem like it was able to translate to that much in the late style. Again, you highlighted Sada Dragon did get picked before that fight even started, but the Sages were not able to find too much there, and the answer back was a little bit too much. The Yomi Tanuki were able to just say, hey, we're gonna look for this engagement and chase you down all the way to the Phoenix, I believe, is where they finally were able to find everyone except for Delny.
I think this little fight here is a perfect example of how teams are starting to adapt to this full tank Raven. We saw it with the Leviathans and the Bolts in the SPL, where Leviathans literally just ignored Haddix for like an entire game. But in these late game team fights, even when Delny is literally sitting in the face of 4 people, they're just ignoring him. They're just not throwing their abilities and their autos into him until he's like the last person that they have to. It seems that that's become the answer to dealing with this kind of a build.
Yeah, when you do go this style of build, I think it does fall off your damage a little bit. You can get annoying, and sure, if you catch a mage in the backline in a 1v1 situation, you're always going to win that trade, but it's pretty easy to just say, hey, we're going to kill the opposition first, and then you saw Delny versus 5 at the Titan, and who's going to win? It didn't look like they were going to kill Delny anytime soon, but the Titan certainly wasn't able to survive that one. So the damage numbers at the end of the game certainly look good, and the mitigations also look pretty good. Snatty mitigating a lot more, though. 65,000 coming from the Amaterasu, just showing how much was able to do in the backline, the CC, that sort of thing. And again, I don't think either of us are putting the fault on Delny here.
No.
The Raven played extremely well and was able to get to the backline and be super annoying. However, the Tanuki did exactly what you're supposed to do and say, hey, you're not doing that much damage. We're going to focus on the priority targets and just ignore you.
Yeah, I think it came down to the number of times we saw Primitive either dash taunt or blink taunt. It was really only catching the frontliners, whether it was taunting Hurrywind or Snatty through the majority of those, and whether they had beads up or not really didn't matter because there wasn't enough follow-up damage to kill those tanks. So, gotta imagine whenever you're thinking of picks like this, when you're going for these Athenas, you want to have maybe a little bit more follow-up. We'll see if they can find some follow-up in game number 2. Picks and bans ready to go between the Athenian Sages and the Yomi Tanuki. We're gonna jump right in those and see if any change-ups do get made. As far as immediate threats out on the field, none of them really stood out to me as kind of must-bans for the Athenian Sages.
Yeah, looking at the gameplay, it wasn't one of those things where I think either team had the immediate edge. Sure, the Tanuki were able to find a significant gold lead, but there was some answer back from both of these squads. So one thing I would certainly look at is maybe just the E-set, as, that was one thing that the Tanuki probably weren't able to freely pull objectives on, so maybe some answer back there. But the Sages, I think, even though they put the Amaterasu behind, maybe the quick farm could have been an issue. They were able to find 2 kills, which is great, but what were you doing with those 2 kills, that sort of thing. So those are the only things that are jumping out to me for either of these teams that they might want to take away, just get them on different style of picks, because it just wasn't really a one-sided game in either way.
As far as picks and bans, for now, we won't see any of that. We will see a Yu Huang ban up against the Yomi Tanuki. So not going to let Neu stay comfortable on that pick any longer. And it's something that you kind of touched on when the Daji got locked in. Daji, very easy to be a beads burner, very easy to deal with these less than mobile style of mages and targets in that mid lane. And when you have a god with 2 forms of CC immunity built into his kit and a beads at level 1, it just felt like Dame never really had an opportunity to get in there and try and get one of those picks.
Yeah, so I do think that's going to be a smart pick to take away, as well as the Nemesis and the Mercury, which is nothing new there. And now it's time to see what the Sages are putting so much prioritization on, and it looks like they will just grab that Raven again. Again, Delny had a great game on it, was able to do a ton of damage and get to the back line. It's just what else is going to be diving with this Raven? I think that's the question, because Raven doesn't bring enough damage on his own to finish those kills and find those picks. Tanuki aren't too worried about that, and they're just going to grab, once again, the Ratatoskr. Sad Dragon had a decent performance on it. Lost that 1v1 up against AIM, but besides that, the global presence, I think, was always something the Sages had to watch out for.
Well, now that Neu doesn't get to play the Yu Huang, instead he'll go back over to the Baba Yaga. Again, another popular mage has been rising up in the mid lane as of recent. Decent damage output. Not really a whole lot of CC to the name, a little bit of a slow occasionally when you throw out that potion. Maybe some random CC that can come out from that first ability, so mostly just in there for that burst. But I mean, this is a guy that takes a while to get going, Charlie. This isn't your ideal early game style of mage with Baba Yaga.
Oh, but she'd be stacking.
She do be stacking.
Whenever she gets those stacking items online, Baba Yaga is going to bring a nice bit of damage and just, get those free stacks, that sort of thing. Nox is actually going to be the call here for the Sages, so you were talking about the taunts on these priority targets, not being able to get to those priority targets, but a little bit more lockdown there with the Nox. Harder to hit for sure, but I will say if you can use the Nox ultimate to just get on a home sweet home, it really negates a lot of that damage, so it is an annoying matchup to deal with if you are on this Baba Yaga, so Nehu's going to have to watch out for that. But Xing Chen is going to be the option here for the Tanuki. Usually pretty good into auto attackers or really anyone that you can force out their escapes or beats with this Whirlwind of Rage of Steel. So I think it'll be a smart pick there for Hurrywin.
Yeah, and something that will be okay up against the Nox. I mean, Atlas is definitely not a fun character to go up against Nox. Silence just essentially ruins the entirety of your kit out there, so making a little bit of a pivot while still being able to provide quite a bit of CC on that god. As the bans do go through, Eset and Poseidon are going to be the two for the Yomi Tanuki. Meanwhile, Ullr, once again, making his way somehow all the way into the second wave of bans, does get taken away, and that's going to be gone along with the Amaterasu. So, not going to take it out in the first wave at the very least with the Indian Sages, but enough of a threat that Snatty needs to be removed from it, at least in the second wave.
Yeah, no, we're going to have to see what Snatty goes to given that. I don't think you're crippling the solo lane too much with that ban. He's got a pretty deep god pool. He's been playing things like the Wukong, for example, which no one's giving the time of day. I think there's a few different picks that you can have certain success on in the solo lane at the moment, so I'm not going to harp on that one a little bit too often. But the Morgan is interesting because I think double Robin could be an issue. You could also use that Ratatosk girl to your advantage to use the global presence. So I think the Sages are just trying to get the best out of the draft in front of them. And actually the Kali. So, I mean, there's a lot of different Mori transformations here that could be extremely annoying. Forcing out one Kali ult is hard, but forcing out two, that's going to be difficult.
I sense a battle approaching.
For that death immunity. So, but for the solo lane, it will be Bellona locked in for the Yomi Tanuki. So pivoting away from one auto attack warrior to a different auto attack warrior. In a slightly different playstyle, but still a very aggressive one nonetheless. Should be a fun dual lane at least to maybe keep your eyes on to see if maybe some action gets thrown that way. We'll jump right in to game number 2 between the Athenian Sages and the Yomi Tanuki to see if the Sages can bounce back in the second game, take us to a game 3, or the Yomi Tanuki going to find their second win of the phase and potentially keep themselves out of the running of relegations.
Yeah, given the starts from both of these squads, just going for the sands of time, so I imagine Nehu will definitely be going for that stacking style of build, whereas, Jengar just wants to get some cooldown online. That Doom Orb as well is going to help you out a ton. The more cooldown you have, the safer you are on this character. You want to make sure you've got that transformation on you at any point. You can just transform into someone with CC immunity. You never have to burn your beads, things like that. I am looking at the Yomi Tanuki late game and thinking, Snatty and Sad Dragon are going to have to dive together. Hurrywin has the horrific emblem, so, no tell if there will be a blink late game or, a possible shell up against multiple Kalis, that sort of thing. We'll have to see how he decides to itemize this, the relics for the Xing Chen, but you can sort of pivot between staying back and peeling your squad or being that engage on the Xing Chen. Both of those styles of play work pretty well, but it does look like Hurrywin is going to start that Chronos pendant, so expect to see some more aggression from this pick.
Yeah, we've been seeing that a lot, especially on a god like Xing Chen, just to get you some extra early damage, be able to get a couple more of those furious roars out during the fight, really just affect all of your cooldowns across the board there. We also see a bit of a pivot in playstyle for Mighty now, going away from this Cupid, which kind of falls in that awkward middle ground of like ability hunter and auto attack style hunter, because he doesn't really classify into either of them necessarily, at least to my knowledge, and maybe into Mike's opinion on there. And now going for a nothing but auto attack style of hunter out there, aside from the ultimate, but definitely a different style of play for Bitey this time in game 2.
Yeah, I think there's a safer pick there. And looking at Snaddy's build in particular, I think respecting the ganks that came his way last game, started off with the teleport this time around on the Bellona, just going for the beads. You're up against the Nox. Late game, you definitely want to make sure you're having those beads handy. And given the ganks early with Delny and Dame, respectively, you're going to have a lot of CC you probably want to try and avoid. So just a little bit of a pivot there, starting with the teleport game 1. Got ganked a bit, now going for that beads.
Well, we get to see the benefit of Jingwei versus a Xing Chen, which is interesting that Xing Chen did get picked up after the Jingwei was already locked in there. Xing Chen gets the knock up on the Snoopy, whether it be from the ultimate picking him up or just from that second ability, and Jingwei can just fly right on out. And also even a little bit of a counter matchup with the Nox being able to stop the second portion of that hook slam. As soon as you get the first little knock up, if you're not caught in it as the Nox, you just drop it there, and now you can't finish up the second half to get that root.
Yeah, Nox is just
annoying.
Like, right, no matter who you are as a frontliner, you don't want to be up against a Nox because it's such a different play style. Like, if you say, hey, if they use this ability, I'll use that ability. If they use this, I'll use this. If I use this, Nox silences me. Oh, I can't do anything? Unfortunate. Like, you get to auto-attack, or you're beadsing, that's sort of it. But it looks like Dame is trying to defend the blue buff. The stun comes through,
wow.
But it was a stun for stun. All 3 members were stunned. They just got to watch each other for like a full second.
They were staring at each other from across the way, and there was just a single buff camp in between them. They're all just like, who's gonna get it? Whose stun's gonna come up first? Well, for now, a little bit of a scuffle by the purple buff. But again, these battles with Hog, always making sure to hold on to that. We've been seeing that so consistently with these teams, making sure that they can at least secure that second wave of the blue buff, or of the purple buff, and the blue buff, I guess, whenever you start seeing so many rotations over here from the junglers.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to be a Robin without a blue buff, though. You would love to have some sustain in this lane and be able to, we already highlighted it last time. The reason that Snaddy gets so far ahead is because Robin takes like 3 rotations of abilities to actually fully clear a wave with this Sigil start, whereas Snaddy just has AoE auto attacks, is able to clear so effectively, and without your blue buff, you really can't. You're going to lose a ton of gold. I expect to look at that net worth and it just continuously rise for Snaddy and sort of stay stagnant there for Delny until the next blue buff spawns in and you're able to fully clear your own wave. Only back to the tier 2 Soul Eater as well, so that could be a problem. Saturdragon gets a good stun on a Jengaru, forcing out those beads.
Does get a return stun, but Saturdragon walks into the tower and puts himself a critical health. Blink jump in by Dame, gets the health reset, can now turn his sights over towards Neyu, not level 5, but level 5 for Jengaru, gets the rat transformation. Neyu has nowhere to go, and it's a second kill for the Sages.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, if Saturdragon hits that dart, it's definitely just like an auto or 2 for a kill. You don't tick over to level 5, you don't give Dame an extra kill, and then Nehu's in no danger. Saturdragon unfortunately misses, falls down. 2 kills go the way of Dame and Jengaru respectively, and that's going to be a big swing. Nehu's only in danger because those kills go through. So an unfortunate series of misplays there for the Yomi Tanuki. And now the gold is in favor of the Sages.
And we do see Snaddy getting aggressive around the blue buff. Dame has made the rotation over. 1-0 and 1 to the jungler. Being able to find a reset, at least during that little bit of a skirmish. Blue buff does go over to the Athenian Sages this time. So Delny won't have to worry about any mana sustain issues in lane for a little while. While Dame being able to pick up that kill, him and Jengaru, you are already kind of alluding to the dangers of dealing with a single Kali during a team fight, trying to bait out a single ultimate. Well, now with both of them starting to get an early lead, it's going to make it a little bit worse.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be worse. You don't want to deal with the global presence of a Ratatoskr when you have a Rat on your team. You really don't have that in the back of your head. You're just like, okay, we have to worry about Dame rotating in on this Kali, the blink ult, that sort of thing. But it's rare you look up to the skies when you got the Rat on your squad. So you got to always watch out for that. Jengaru has so many different options on the Morgan. The beads are down for about a minute, so I expect Jengaru to play a little safe until the ultimate and the beads are both back up. And then Dame can start to look for some early engages here, try to set up some fights, and Jengaru can make his presence known with that engage. And I think that's going to be a pretty decent play. Looking at the opposition, Nehu is itemizing towards that Warlock Sash. So that tells me Nehu's not trying to fight, not trying to get online early. Just sit back, get those passive stacks as much as possible with the house, and then play for the late game. That is where Baba Yaga shines, and I think that's the best option that the Tanuki have to try and look to engage. The issue is you're up against a Kali. So how late are you really trying to get? You know, you don't want to wait till like level 20 when Dame's got full build. Baba Yaga can't exist in that sort of fight.
It's going to be a little while before we see Neu start to get online. Does have those Warlock stacks starting up at the least. Jangaru going towards his Doom Orb. He's trying to get a little bit more of that movement speed. Very typical build. Nothing out of the ordinary, at least for Morgan early on.
That's the Morgan.
The Morgan. But which one is the Morgan when she spawns the other two around her? Is it still just her? Because she always says, we are the Morgan.
That is
true. So she's like Legion.
Yeah, so I guess she just, they are multiple. They are
the Morgan.
They are the Morgan, exactly, yeah. You said it.
Which one's the King Morgan is the question. Even in that paradox, like even when you think about it, like think of what's his name? What was it? Twice from MHA.
Okay, yeah.
Which one is the original Twice? Like who is the actual one? You always have to wonder that. Like if there are so many the Morgans and so many clones, which one is the real the Morgan? Which one is like the true OG the Morgan?
Well, yeah, I guess you never really know, and that's sort of the issue. But it doesn't matter because at the moment Jangaru isn't getting active, so we don't have to think about it too much. We're just seeing some waves being clear and some wards being dropped. It is still 2-0 in favor of the Sages. What?
Some good ward dropping.
Yeah, no, that was some good ward dropping. You got some vision there. You always got to watch out for that vision. What a duo lane we have, though. Given the fact that Rama and Bitey and Snoopy, Rama and Jing Wei, specifically the matchup, you know, there's not too much aggression coming out from either of them, right? You can go for some snipes off the airstrike. You can dash in as this Rama, but, you know, not too much fight potential there. It's not like, oh, I hit a big knock-up, I got some lucky crits. That's not online just yet. We're seeing a Dev Gauntlet start from Snoopy, so he just wants to farm up, and Ichival for Bitey. I don't expect to see too much targeted aggression over on that side of the map.
No, most of our action has been on this mid or even solo lane. We saw some blue buff invades earlier on. But for now, it is just a farm game. We got our 2 early kills. We got our 2 kills of hype moments and fun, and now we're right back to the game of farm for both these squads. Purple buff invade does go the way of the Athenian Sage. Is able to successfully steal that one and put Bitey in a, I can't even say a weird predicament. He's going to be fine. It's not like the purple buff was giving him a lot of MP5 or making sure that he could always outbox Snoopy because, as you mentioned before, there's no fighting to be had. Maybe no hurry win to be had. He will jump away. And that is the target for Dame. Dame might be willing to go for a full dive in. A pickup by Hurrywin throws Dame to the tier 2 tower while Hurry will walk to the tier 1. Put a blink in on Dame, and that'll get him the reset. A nice little turnaround there for the Athenian Sage's jungler.
Dame goes for the kill and doesn't even proxy the wave. If that's me, I'm taking Snoopy's wave 10 out of 10 times. I've got the tier 2 Odie bow. I got that Scream tech. I am blowing through that wave after I get the kill. But not wanting to put your ADC too far behind. A smart call. Got the target for Dame, and just more and more gold funneling into this Kali. It's an increasing issue, I'll say, for the Yomi Tanuki, is that the main spearhead for the Athenian Sages is a Kali. Dame's been consistently getting extra gold. You really don't want that kin size to get online this early, and the damage after the fact. I don't see anyone being able to stop this early on, and as the game continues, you know, Nehu's the best option for trying to burn through a Kali's HP. Maybe you look for some snipes after the fact. You can force that destruction, but we've seen how many times where a Kali just blinks onto a Baba Yaga, wait for home sweet home, and then just shreds through it so quickly. It's a difficult matchup to play into, and especially when the Kali's 2-0 this early on, it's not going to get much better.
I was wondering how much gold Jangaru was holding onto in hand. That's 1,700, because he's only got that Doom, at least for now. But then I remember that Dame is going for a relatively cheap build because he has skipped going the full Odysseus bow. As mentioned, something that Scream has been doing a lot on this god, now going towards the kin size right after. But Dame able to get off to a 2-0-1 start in this game is definitely going to bode well for a Kali, a god that typically takes a little bit longer to kind of get the ball rolling. Started out early on. Primitive, very aggressive on this knock. It's one jump from Hurrywin, the other comes back in. Furious Roar to deal a little bit of damage back towards Priv after, but not much more than that. Just a little bit of a skirmishing around for this purple buff that will go over to Bitey.
Yep, just the old buff check and then the retreat, and that's what we've been seeing time and time again. Just a little bit of targeted aggression, more so off the back of Dame.
It's not like a mod check, but for the buffs.
Yeah, exactly. Just mod check. Oh, there's a buff there? Okay, we'll throw something there, and That'd be a good emote, just a buff check.
Buff check?
Yeah, I wonder, like, who would it be that's, like, looking, though? Like, Denton?
Oh, it could be Denton, actually.
Yeah, Denton, like...
That'd be a good callback, too.
Yeah, Denton.
I miss Denton.
It would be Denton just looking left, looking right, buff check. Any buffers?
If Smite makes it to 200 gods, Denton should be the 200th god.
All right, well...
That'd be so cool.
What would Denton do?
Everything.
What do you mean?
Denton would be immortal.
You just, what, if you pick Denton, you just win?
You basically just win. It's just a It's just a timer. You have 30 minutes to win the game, or Denton becomes unkillable and can just destroy everything.
I actually wouldn't hate that. Like, just put them on a timer. At 30 minutes, Denton just grows the size of the whole map and is able to just stomp on everyone and just get pentakills upon
Every ability becomes a global, just AoE, covers the entire map at 30 minutes. It slowly gets bigger as the game goes on. Once it gets past 20, that's when it starts like getting further and further out, and then by 30 minutes he covers the whole map.
Yep, and that's the kind of power that Denton should have. Is it looks like the Oracles once again are coming up. The Sages would love to try and go for these. A little bit of self-throw, but Dame blinks to the backline, gets the beat to Buddy early on.
Hurrywin in the backline as well. Up into the sky is Mighty, but he'll die to the dot damage in the sky. Hurrywin gets stunned out by Jangar. Hurrywin goes for the ultimate, but it's just on the retreat. Root does hit Neu, as well as the knockup. Stupid, a lot of damage coming through from the Hunter, from Jangaru as well. The Athenian Sages continue to rally around whoever it is that Privative gets in that route and nearly kills them every single time.
Yeah, rally around they shall, and rally here. Only Snatty's allowed to say that as we get to watch that one. I saw the moment you realized where I was going with that.
Oh, man. I was like, rally around, okay, and then rally here. I said, oh, no, where's this one?
And luckily Doug had my back and just immediately went to Snatty and shit.
I'm glad Doug's looking out for you.
Yeah, because
I wouldn't have done that. I would have zoomed in on the camera and shook it, just like, no.
Just like, no, I don't want to go with this bit. Either way,
continue though.
The whole point of what I was saying is the fact that Snatty's been able to find some extra gold and an extra XP. You know, that this is your best option with dealing with the Kali. You know, Dame is 2-0 and 2 at the moment, has the kin size. You know, and Snatty's got a disarm, some block stacks, that sort of thing. So you're hoping, and you're hoping that this Bologna is able to stop some of the aggression from Dame late game. You know, the disarm will be enough to say, hey, we're going to CC this Kali, get the beats down, not let the destruction just come through, that sort of thing. At the moment, I'm expecting to see just a lot of this, where Snatty just smacks away, does a ton of damage. Well, that really wasn't a ton. Late game should be a ton. Up against Delny, not going to be doing a ton of damage. And, you know, the CC alone should be what you're hoping for, that the Tanuki can try and stop some of the aggression from the stages. But you definitely don't want to be in this position where you're up against a late game hard carry in the Kali and already 2-0 and 2.
I was wondering what Hurrywin was holding on to so much gold for, because he only had the Chronos Pendant still going into that fight and had been holding on to the Chronos Pendant for such a long time, but does like to pick up Witchblade's second item, going to give him a little bit of protection, reduce the attack speed of the two primary auto attackers who are going to be slamming him, especially with how often the Dame has been targeting out this Xing Chen. It's going to give Hurrywin a little bit more survivability in these fights. That horrific emblem now back online, so Hurrywin ready for this next team fight. But I think you're right to say that Snatty needs to be a part of these fights if we're going to see some pushback from the Yomi Tanuki.
Yeah, Snatty is going to use the Eagles rally there just to confirm the blue buff and try and bully out Delny a little bit. But given the fact that there's no teleport online for this Bologna, the presence towards that Gold Fury has to go towards the Sages. Delny can get there in a moment's notice and they can try and force some sort of aggression towards that objective, but the Sages have not been getting too active here. Priv finally dashes in, catches Hurrywin. Not going to do too much damage, but here comes Jangaru.
Hurrywin now eating a lot of damage. Through a jump in by Dame, an easy reset for him. And now he can just mosey his way on out of the team fight. It's just becoming that simple. I mean, it's simple math this. It's who do I find with the single root, says Privative. The rest of the team says, all right, cool. We're just going to kill him. It all nearly happened to Hurrywin in the last fight. It happens to him in this one.
Yeah, it looks like Sad Dragon went up thinking they were on gold, and the Sages were not on gold, so the ult is going to be wasted. Even Snatty made the rotation over, trying to help out. As the purple buff is stolen away, Mighty would have loved to have that. Snoopy does get stunned out. This is really just a trading of blows at the moment. No one's on the Gold Fury, so that should be the end of it. And Snatty is just so annoying, just chasing down Delny, not letting any farm go by the wayside. I already highlighted it, but if you're the Yomi Tanuki, this is still your one highlight, the fact that Snatty's been able to stay above everyone else farm-wise, except for Snoopy, who also ticks over to level 15.
Snoopy has been given a lot of free reign over in that dual lane. A lot of that thanks to Privative on this Nox, able to create so much space for them and able to get so much setup. Dame even level 14 on the Kali. Did finish up the Odysseus bow after that kin size, now working into another bow within that tree. Silver Branch may be the likely suspect there. We'll see if he elects to finish that one out. The Athenian Sages, even with all these kills that they've gotten, Trelly, it hasn't translated into an objective. It hasn't really translated into much of a lead. It's only 1,500 gold up for the Sages, and even less than that in experience.
Yeah, you got to be happy with the current gold lead, and I think it's more so on the Tanuki to try and do something about it because, again, the Sages have the Morgan and Kali. Late game, that's really your late game taken care of. They're only going to get better with time, so they don't have to force too much. They can find a pick here, they can find a pick there. On the flip side, the Tanuki aren't too pressed because the gold lead's not that outrageous, right? They're like, we don't have to act just yet. It's only 1,000 gold. We don't have to act just yet. It's only 1,500 gold. When will they draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is the objective we're fighting for? You know, not quite sure. The Sages didn't go for the Gold Fury after they got that pick, just maybe because of the fear of Sad Dragon's ultimate. They got wasted, and then they were like, okay, let's just back off. We don't really want to go for that. So I don't think the Sages are really feeling the fire just yet and trying to force out anything. It's more so been a CC from Priv and then some pick. That time around, they weren't able to find the pick, but a decent bit of damage on the hurry.
Able to put a little bit of poke on the Xing Chen. Anything to make sure that these frontliners are less healthy as they get ready to jump into these next fights. Hurrywin does miss the quick slam up against Privative. The root just off the mark as well. A bit of a reset for both these teams, but it's a reset for the Tanuki. Around the Gold Fury, Snatty has now shown up. We might get our first actual 5v5 matchup. I say that, but there's a few members who haven't gotten there from the Sages. The Fury got leashed. The Yomi Tanuki will pick it back up. Privative and Snoopy, the first two here. Everybody else rallying around. Delny's in the mid lane. And the Fury will go the way of the Yomi Tanuki. A close call. And Hurrywin's HP bar falling low. Into the back line goes down. He does find the root up against Hurrywin, but an overhead kick should get Delny out just fine. Meanwhile, on the other side, Snatty walks away from Snoopy and Sad Dragon. No one on the Yomi Tanuki going down just yet. Snatty even expending, maybe even risking his life to go for a single chalice offering. Maybe not the wisest call, but at least the rest of the team makes it out.
Yeah, I think it was between sacking Hurrywin there or Snatty, and it seemed like maybe Snatty was done either way, so tried to lead the team north and didn't want to lead them towards any sort of farm. And if that was the case, then why Snatty feeds, I'm not sure. But I'm thinking Snatty knew he was dead and was like, I'm going to try and take the squad away from my team as best as possible. But now the Sages have the option to go for the Pyromancer. Given the fact that it's only one pick, I can't imagine they're trying to pull a Fire Giant here. It would be extremely early. They don't have that much damage headed their way. And the way that Snoopy is itemized only has the shred with the Executioner, so no sort of crits coming out just yet. It will just be a Pyromancer and back to the farm game. The Tanuki obviously were able to get that Fury, but the gold still going in hand with the Sages.
Yeah, which means that essentially everything has been negated back to where it was, a 2K lead for the Sages. Now I guess out of all that, Snatty did get enough, or get that last chalice needed to get a Trebuchet. Unfortunately, there's no one to push this Trebuchet and no one to really take advantage of it, so all they've done for the Tanuki, that is just kind of force Snoopy to sit in the lane for a little bit longer.
That's kind of mean.
Yeah, they just kind of made him sit and say, hey, go deal with that Trebuchet.
Yeah, and I think that alone is enough to demoralize him, right? Where he's like, I want to fight.
You hate being on Trebuchet duty?
Well, you sit in that lane, you're 0-0-4, you haven't gotten a kill all game, and you're waiting for your moment where you can just like pop off as an ADC and they say, hey, sorry, you're not allowed to. You got to go clear the Trebuchet. So I think that's got to be, pretty disheartening for a Jingwei.
I think Snoopy will be just fine knowing that his team does have a 6-0 kill lead, a couple thousand up. But that mitigated by that tower going down for the Yomi Tanuki. So they one of the most important towers that you can get in the early stages of the game. But as we're starting to hit these 20-minute marks, that tier 1 tower maybe a little bit less so. Yomi Tanuki still have some fight back in them, and we saw Hurrywin go in and get a decent engagement. The only problem is that Hurrywin just isn't really all that tanky right now because he forwent the Gauntlet of Thieves. It's so traditional as a start, and then with the Witchblade, he's lacking a lot of protections.
Witchblade?
Witchblade.
Oh, okay, Witchblade.
Correct.
Yeah, it is an interesting build. Snoopy does dash in on a Bitey here. Doesn't look like the rest of the team is going to follow up just yet, but Zadrigan goes up into the sky looking for Snoopy.
Could find Snoopy. The knockup will force the airstrike out. And that's a big defense from the Sage's Hunter now gone. Those still holding on to both relics. But the Yomi Tanuki have backed themselves away from that one engagement, only losing out on Sada Dragon's HP. And the fact that Sada does have at least that Jotun's Wrath for a little bit of CDR means that ultimate should be back up relatively soon.
Yeah, there's no real objective to look at here, so unless someone pushes up like that, like Snoopy trying to chase a kill, there's not going to be too much targeted aggression coming from either of these squads. It's just all on the Sages to try and force, some form of fight at the Fire Giant, but looking at the levels, they would love to hit level 20 before trying to do something like that. We see Snatty rotate over to try and defend the tower, and should be able to do that, but surrounded by 3. Dame would love to try and dive this Bellona. Snatty is doing everything he can to try and keep this tower alive.
And Snatty is fighting for his life to keep that one up. Will manage to fend off 3, but that's because he's got some backup from Sada and Hurrywin. Priv shows up, gets the Shadow Lock, and will reproc that Dark Omen from Jengaru. But now that Spirit Robe is online, it means that Hurrywin has a little bit of extra protection to his name for now, but still not nearly as tanky as he probably wants to be. That Gauntlet of Thieves really does provide so many extra pots to these supports.
Yeah, it does. That is the reason that most people build it first. If you're able to, position well enough on the Xing Chen, you are incredibly safe with CC immunity from Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and you got the double jump to make sure you can avoid out some abilities. However, you can't use any of those abilities when under a silence from Priv, and that's sort of what we've been watching, right? Where Priv just drops the silence, hits the Shadow Lock, and then Hurrywin just takes too much damage. He's not able to juke out those abilities. Once again, the dash in, this time on Sad Dragon, forces out those beads. And now Ratatosk's going to have to be playing a little bit safer.
A little bit of a poke shot right onto Snoopy. Will take about a quarter of his HP away. The Yomi Tanuki have once again fended off the Athenian Sages from pushing on towards any real objective, towards pushing on towards any of these towers. That tier 1 in right will go down probably to minions at any given moment. There it actually goes right then as I'm finishing up that sentence. So the Sages have some pressure. I mean, they've got the kill lead. They've been winning the team fights, but they're not really pushing this lead yet, Trelly.
Yeah, the Primal Fury did just spawn in, so maybe the Sages have an opportunity here to get some vision down. They will drop the Bracer, so Priv is ready to just get some vision and some extra damage onto this objective, but it appeared for a second like the Tanuki were going to posture towards that Fire Giant. Given the fact that Bitey's nowhere near, I can't imagine that was their play. I just wanted to put some presence over this side of the map. There's a decent stun on the Priv, is going to get some poke, and Hurrywin has to leap away. So neither squad looking at the Primal Fury just yet. Probably just wanted to get some vision down, just in case, right? Because if you notice the Sages are on the Primal Fury, you can just pull the Pyromancer. It's not quite up yet. I imagine that was the call. And now Snoopy is going to pull it. And unless Bitey's got some clutch snipes, it doesn't seem like anyone else is going to be in range in time.
Primal Fury is taking a decent bit of damage, so let's pass it back and forth between Jengaru, but no real threat from them. Yomi Tanuki will not be able to get there, so the Athenian Sages grab themselves another objective. And that'll at least push their gold up just a little bit more. 3,000 to their name, the largest lead that we've seen so far this game. 3,600 experience, not mattering nearly as much anymore. Neu very close to hitting that level 20, and then it's just the difference between our two supports. And I'm wondering when Hurrywin's going to fully upgrade that relic of his, that emblem. We haven't seen it go beyond this first tier just yet, and it's almost always been whenever he's using it as a disengage tool rather than an engage.
The emblem of increasing peril. That's the most value you can.
Trembling Terror is the other one, but we don't see that.
They both just have great names.
All of these relics really do. There's so many good ones.
That is a very true statement. As Snoopy finished that Deathbringer for sure, as we're seeing those crits fly onto the Pyromancer. Indian Sage is still in the driver's seat here in this game, 25 minutes in. We might see our first attempt at an FG pull if the Sages are feeling confident. But it looks like they're more so inclined to go for this tier 1 tower in mid, try and get some extra gold in their hands. You know, J-Mac, we've been talking about when the Tanuki are going to draw a line in the sand and try and defend something. I would imagine this has to be it, because if not this, when? You know, like what are you playing for if you can't defend this Fire Giant? Sad Dragon is appearing to be wrapping around, but the Sages have not. They haven't started pulling yet, so no real fear just yet.
Well, and I say this as an if, we actually do break into a fight, or at least if we can get a few moments. Leader's Cowl, picked up by Bitey. That's something we haven't seen. We didn't see it like at all in Season 8. I don't think it was picked up one time during Season 8. We've seen it a couple of times pop its way up now in Season 9.
Yeah, it does help out your team, and I think you need all the help you can get when you're down 6-0 into a comp like this. Priv is wrapping around here. Silence would be massive. Not going to find the Shadow Lock, and it looks like the rest of the Sages will just back off. All the Sages are just waiting for the go button from Privative to hit a Shadow Lock so that the rest of the team can follow up, look for a pick, and then pull this Fire Giant. Hasn't been happening yet, so the Tanuki are essentially just sitting by and waiting for this Fire Giant to be pulled. We remember what happened last time when Dame and Sad Dragon found the 1v1. Dame won, Sad Dragon died, and the Tanuki won the fight after the fact, so we'll have to see what happens. It's not going to go like it did in Game 1.
Snatty's the one who gets locked in. He's plenty tanky to live through a lot of that burst, but Neu uses the home sweet home. That's going to force a couple of people back. Dame, after his scuffle with Sad Dragon, will finally return back to the base, and so will a lot of the other members of the Sages. If the Tanuki recognize this, they can maybe try and bait somebody forward at the Fire Giant, but not going to happen as of now. Primitive's back actually got stopped by the Fire Giant's lava pools. He was a little too close to the circle.
Well, they don't have the vision that we have, so it looks like we won't see any sort of aggression. Again, the Tanuki are just watching, right? I mean, I'm going to say it. They've been watching this whole game. They have some decent damage, but they have not gotten active. They haven't looked for any sort of aggression. Sad Dragon has essentially been farming up for this point, right? This Fire Giant fight. If we keep stalling the way we've been going, it'll be enhanced. It looks like Priv finally will pull this as Dame has a ton of DPS. Snoopy has a ton of DPS, begging the Tanuki to go in.
It is melting. Hurrywin and Snatty have joined into the fray. The Sages get the Fire Giant, but the Sages are also going to get Hurrywin, who's stuck around too long. Snatty up-down's in place. Dame as well in the back line, tries for an up-down, and will find a pick. Over on Nabai, that's 2 down for the Yomi Tanuki. Gonna be 3 if Snatty gets picked off. Dark Omen does hit with 3 people standing around. Snatty should go down, I should say, shortly, and will do so with a couple more autos, at least able to bat back for as long as possible until Jangaru takes him out. Athenian Sages have found 9 kills. Not a reset for Dame, but at least another kill to make it a nice and even 10.
They can't even force out Dame's ult. I mean, he got that double kill without using Destruction, so the Sage is just an absolute... I mean, it's a wipe. It's 10-0. I don't see anyone who's going to be dropping anytime soon. Hurrywin will spawn in here shortly. Primitive is extremely weak. Home Sweet Home comes up, and Nehu's getting demolished by the crits from Snoopy. Delny goes to the back line and finishes that one off.
And Nehu's gone. Hurrywin will use the ultimate. It'll pick up only Delny, and Delny will take down Hurrywin. Double kill for the solo laner. Mid lane Phoenix goes down. And a blank, the Athenian Sages, 12-0. Bitey comes back, and maybe Bitey's got a little bit of damage. Yeah, not much that he can do. Stun, CC chain to death. Let's just give it an extra one, 13-0 for the Athenian Sages to close out game number 2 and tie up the set.
I'm 8-0 from Dame. Jangaru sitting at 2-0. Delny sitting at 2-0. Snoopy unfortunately gets 0 kills that game, but was, popping off with the crits and the Deathbringer, the Death's Temper, that sort of thing. So, I mean, to me, it seemed as if the Tanuki were playing for a late game that will never come. They never got to that point. They were like, don't worry, we'll stall out until... And then they never finished. They just never got to write down whatever time they were going to start trying. Unfortunately, the Sages, they just came out swinging and they never stopped.
Yeah, the Yomi Tanuki were waiting for the release of their game that ended up never coming. It's the Athenian Sages who were able to take the early game, the mid game, and the late game. They're able to close this one out, tie up the set. We'll go to a break, come back with game 3. Hello and welcome back to the Smite Challenger Circuit as we are about to jump into Game 12 of the day. Every single one of our sets has gone the distance and it's not stopping here. Yomi Tanuki fall down in Game number 2. The Athenian Sage is able to come up with a nice one. And from minute 1 until the very end of the game, Charlie, Athenian Sages had control and we saw basically no fight back aside from Snatty and Hurrywin when it came down to the Yomi Tanuki's front line. Nothing else was really, there wasn't even sand for them to draw a line, and they just didn't even show up at that point.
Yeah, when you got, Dame was 8-0 on the Kali, started off to a very early 2-0 start. Sada Dragon went for that early gank, and you know what, we should be able to watch it back in the replays, if possible, if it was the first kill. But it was just, the 2-0 start, and then from then, that was it, right? That was the end of the aggression from the Yomi Tanuki. That was really the only time we saw them try for any sort of kill, and after that, they just sort of rolled over.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was essentially the name of the game right there every single time was Pritiv dashes up, finds the silence route onto one person, usually Hurrywin, or often than not, and then Hurrywin dies. And if it's not Hurry, then it's Snatty. And if it's not Snatty, then it's any of the carries who mistakenly were still sticking around by that point. Dame on the chainsaw this game, 8-0 to finish that one out. A nice reprise from him and the Athenian Sages to rally back from Game 1.
No, they rallied here.
Right, in Game 2.
Right, they rallied here.
But wait, only Snatty can rally here, though.
Well, I heard, literally as you said that, Snatty said, rally here, so he wasn't able to up-10 on that ultimate either way. It just seemed like, the Sages came out swinging. They weren't happy with how Game 1 went. They felt the wind slip through their fingers, and they weren't going to let this one happen in Game number 2. I have to imagine if you're the Tanuki, you didn't have an answer for Dame's Kali. Could certainly be something to take away in the picks and bans, right? I mean, if he goes 8-0, in my mind, that says you didn't have an answer for it. Like even if they had an answer for it, they certainly didn't show it in that situation.
No, there really wasn't much of a fight back or an answer from the Yomi Tanuki up against this Kali, up against this Nox. It really felt like Privitive was, obviously Privitive not getting all the kills, but it really felt that Privitive was kind of the biggest threat on that team at that point because, as I said, anytime somebody was hit by that Shadowlock, they were dead or they were using basically all of their relics to get out of there. So we'll see what changes and adjustments are made by the Yomi Tanuki as we jump into Game number 3's picks and bans. See what adjustments do end up getting made. Will it be a ban of the Kali by the Tanuki to keep that one out of Dame's hands? Will it just allow to be go through again? We'll have to see as the gods start rolling through.
They could just claim the Kali for themselves. We know that Sada Dragon has liked to play it before in the past, so that could be a decent strategy here. Be like, oh, we're not afraid of the Kali. You guys should let it through. And then actually we wanted it for ourselves the whole time and try and take it away. Because, again, the Ratatosker just never really got aggressive after level 5. So I don't think that's going to be reprised here for the Tanuki unless they just come with a completely different game plan. Either way, Chernobog and Yamoja going to be taken away by the Tanuki, and Osiris just here for the Sages. So nothing out of the ordinary just yet. More so just going for those more meta-style bans. The Yu Huang is something that got through in Game number 1 and hasn't been allowed through since then, and still will not be allowed through. The Sages don't want to face that.
Yeah, we are starting to hit that point, at least in the SCC, where this god is becoming kind of that top 3 ban. He's kind of been teetering on that knife's edge with the SPL, maybe even with just a couple of teams here and there. Do we top 3 ban the Yu Huang to keep it away from their mid laner? Do we really want to fight up against that one? The Sages, they recognize just how potent Neu has been on this god throughout so far on this phase, so they will take it away. Alongside the Kali from the Yomi Tanuki, so some respect thrown over towards Dame. He's not going to be allowed to play this assassin again, but all of that leaves Nemesis open for the Yomi Tanuki to grab.
That's why I gasped. I saw the Nemesis was available, and I was like, you're really going to ban the Merc over the Nemesis? If you asked me this, 2-3 weeks ago, obviously you're picking Merc over Nemesis. If you ask me this week, that's a big question, but we'll have to see how it plays off for the Yomi Tanuki. They wanted to grab that Nemesis right away. The Nox is coming back.
Top pick, too.
Don't like that, given the way that Priv was able to pilot that pick. And the Robin is also coming back. So the Sages saw what worked. Obviously, the Kali got taken away, but besides that, they saw what worked last game. And, Delny's had a good performance on the Robin all set, despite the fact that it was vastly ignored in game number 1. Has been able to get to the back pretty low, but the Shiva, that is not something that I would have expected.
Hasn't also had the best win rate as of yet. 4 games played, not a single one won. Means that Shiva hasn't been the most exceptional of performing gods in the NASCC.
That's not good.
No, definitely not. 50% is definitely better from Ullr.
Well,
hey, by the way, we're in Game 3. Uller made it to the third round of the second round of bans, 2 games already. Has now been a third pick for the Yomi Tanuki. Talk about a weird, talk about just strangeness across the board. I mean, SPL, like, Uller is #1 pick if that god is left open. He gets through 2 games without anybody looking at him, and it ends up being the 3rd pick for the Tanuki in this game.
Yeah, that is an interesting one, but finally we do get to see the Uller picked, and we'll have to see how much pressure it's able to bring, whether it's in the mid lane or the duo lane. I think it's going to have a decent matchup no matter what. You're up against the Hou Yi in the duo lane, so maybe they'll hold on to that and see, you know, what are we up against in mid? Do we want to, you know, just get presence there, or do we want to try and fight into that Hou Yi? Second wave of bans, I was going to say the Geb is open, something that has a decent matchup up into Nox, notably. You can Stone Shield whenever that Shadow Lock comes through and just cancel that out, so that's going to be taken away. And the Tanuki, they don't want Dame back on the Da Ji. They can't have him on the Kali, so he's going to have to play something new this set.
And an E-set ban for the Yomi Tanuki. That's going to round out the phase of bans there. The AMC, maybe a little surprising. We're seeing a lot less of AMC. When we look at teams like the Eldritch Hounds, that's typically a pick that almost everybody is taking away from Crimson, whether it be the Uller or the AMC, or both of them, depending on how spicy teams are feeling on banning that kind of a god away. So seeing that AMC even hit a ban this time might be the most surprising thing out of the Sages. But along with that, Baba Yaga going to be picked up for the mid lane this time on the Sages.
How spicy are you feeling?
On a scale, like, what's my scale of spice here? Are we talking like a 1 to, I don't know where I was going.
I was gonna say, I mean, you just said, like, how spicy are they feeling, so
mango habanero.
Okay.
That's my spice level I'm feeling right now.
Okay, that's not bad.
Okay.
That's a good level of spice.
Would you classify Scylla being picked up in this meta in the mango habanero level of spice?
No, that's some spice. And then on top of the hold on.
So, Shiva support.
No, one of these...
Shiva support.
Okay.
Poseidon solo.
Okay.
Scylla mid, Uller ADC, Nemesis jungle.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense
That's my
to me,
guess.
I suppose.
That's my ghost pepper spice.
Yeah, I wanted to see...
That's not even that spicy, I don't think.
I just want... That is really spicy.
Shiva support? Wait, out of all of that,
I thought you were saying ghost peppers aren't spicy. I was like,
no,
me.
they're spicy. I'm saying that my prediction's not ghost pepper level of spice.
Yeah, I wanted to see something interesting. You know, Awesome Jakes ran the Scylla support. I was like, you know, maybe we'll see Hurrywin play it, but I think you're right. I think that would be how I would allocate them as well.
Well, Camazot's last pick for the Sages. We can jump right into game number 3 and see where the Yomi Tanuki are going to put some of these spicier picks. A Scylla and Poseidon for their final 2. And where will it lock down? Hey, I'm pretty good at this.
Hey, this guy.
I know a thing or two sometimes.
Wait, chair ones aren't supposed to know how this game works.
I don't. I'm just saying something so it would be funny. Like, hey, what if they actually did it? They actually did it. That's crazy.
We saw the picks they went. They had to go some combination of these 5 characters. It really just depends on, you know. Snatty picked this into the Robin willingly. So you better be stealing away that buff.
I did.
But look how slow he is now.
Slow. Slow him even more.
Waddle away, Snatty. Waddle.
I'm pretty sure now we do have a movement speed cap for fastest speed that you can go. We also have a movement speed cap for how slow you can go, and I'm pretty sure Snatty hit the bottom end of the movement speed diminishing cap on there.
If Delny had Horrific Emblem, would he be moving backwards at that point? Like, just start reversing?
He would just stand still. Yeah, that's basically a stun.
Yeah, you're just literally not allowed to move after you've got the Invader's Curse on you. So Snatty will steal away the blue buff. Super annoying, by the way. Yeah, super annoying. Not to a great matchup. That was the whole point of what I was going to refer to. Is, you know, Robin up against Poseidon, traditionally a counter matchup. You're never going to be getting value out of Kraken, right? You're forcing overhead kick. I don't think that's going to net a kill because Snatty is level 1, by the way. That's unfortunate. Delny was also level 1, but you don't have any backup in that regard.
Dive in by Snoopy. Separates 2. Hurrywin does get the sweep to pull them both in. And I'll be honest with you, Charlie. The last time that I played a Shiva support was around the time that 9-5 had dropped. And let me tell you, once I got past like 20 minutes, I wasn't having a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that Shiva is going to bring a lot more presence right now and then fall off as the game goes on. That's sort of what Shiva has always done. You know, his early game was very strong, but the late game was pretty rough. The early game got nerfed, and the late game is still rough. So we'll have to see if Hurrywin is just delegated to being a heal bot, you know, as this game continues. But it just occurred to me as you went through the range of of characters that are, I guess, players on the map. We talked about the 7 dwarves last time we casted together, and so now we got the 5 dwarves. We got Bitey, Snatty, Delny, Snoopy. Okay, there's only 4. There's only 4.
Oh, how are you getting dwarves in this one?
Well, they just all like Bitey, Snatty, you know, like.
What 2-syllable words now makes
Well, and
now
with an E.
classifies them? Oh, with an E at the end. Okay,
Yeah,
I get where you're going with
Like
it now.
what? There's like grouchy, sneezy, angry.
Droopy.
Yeah, see, they all end with E. That's what I was saying.
It was grumpy, if I remember correctly, not angry. I made the mistake of thinking angry was one. Hurrywin might be making the mistake of walking up. A triple bounce nearly tags him there. The sweep is good. Hurrywin needs a little bit more damage, but will not find it. Bitey too far away to close that one out. Snoopy escapes just barely a sliver of health.
Yeah, and it looks like the purple buff is still being looked at, but Dame is on the way. The Camazotz has the blink available. Hurrywin's blinking under tower at this point?
Okay, all it will take now is one good hit from anybody. Stun on to Primitive, jump over the wall from Dame, and first blood to Dame on the Athenian Sages. An interesting call, to say the least, by Hurrywin. Takes a tower shot and then takes a spill.
Yeah, maybe just no eyes on Dame. I don't think that's ever the right call, but if Bitey had the backup, I suppose that was like the call, you know. Hurrywin blinks in, goes for the sweep, into an axe, easy kill. Gets the beads down, Snoopy lives to see another day, and first blood goes the way of the Sages. Now Bitey could be looking for the Hail of Arrows, not going to be enough, so Snoopy lives on a sliver of HP there. Would have preferred, you know, some extra points into the third ability at that point. So unfortunate, nice hit by Bitey, however, and it looks like once again first blood goes the way of the Sages, and a little bit of XP also in favor of the Sages.
Snatty waiting around till he can get enough gold to go back to base, get that Warlock staff started up that he's gone towards. I think that solo lane is going to be one where not a whole lot of action happens, as you mentioned earlier, and as it's been really stated time and time again. That's not a fun matchup for a Poseidon. Pretty much one of his hardest counters in the game is that Robin. So probably not going to see a whole lot of kill pressure for Snatty. Maybe some for Delny, but maybe not so with that build. Delny going back in towards the mitigation style.
Yeah, Delny's going to run back the same exact build, what, like every game and not care too much for it. Just because that's what's working right now in that lane. You're able
Delny,
to do...
it's time for your 3 o'clock Robin mitigation build. Okay.
Like, here's my trade offer. You get Robin solo, I get nothing. You're getting Robin solo. Like, oh, man, all right. Well, I guess I'm playing Robin solo once again. But either way, I think you're right to highlight the matchup's not going to be fun for Snatty. You have tons of damage besides your Kraken. So just because your Kraken doesn't get value doesn't mean that you can't exist in this lane. However, if Dame's showing up in this lane as well, then you're really not having a good time. I mean, you can just bat out of hell the Kraken every single time. Snatty's not going to have too much survivability up against double Assassin. And it looks like actually was able to confirm the blue buff. And not use the ult, so Snatty holds on to the Kraken and gets a little bit of MP5 in that lane.
At this point, what's the over-under on using a Kraken just to secure blue buff? Because that's probably the only thing he's going to be able to hit for some time.
I mean, that's what I thought. When I saw the blue buff there, I was like, surely the Kraken's gone. But Snatty didn't have to use it there, so the Tidal Surge was able to confirm that one. Or maybe just the Whirlpool. It could have been a whole myriad of things.
Stun on towards Bitey. You see the Whirlpool drop by Snatty, and that's one of the ways that Delny can get away from, if there was a Kraken, that overhead kick going to give him that CC and damage immunity to get away from what Snatty is able to do. Did start very early on the Bumba's dagger, not holding out on that one for a few items, so not wanting to hide his hand, but when we see a Poseidon, we almost always know it's going Bumba's hammer at this point.
This would be Snatty hiding his hand. He'd be like, ooh.
He'd be hiding his hand with his other hand, saying, oh, you can't see it.
Yeah, you have no clue what I'm about to build. I swear, I picked Poseidon in solo. What could it be? And I think
he's hiding it with a transparency sheet.
Yeah, exactly. Just with like a Ziploc bag. That's the equivalent of what Snatty was doing there. I just think that, you know, he wants more sustain in lane. Obviously, you can do the camps. You can invade camps pretty simply if you're just popping that second ability in the Trident and just running to farm. So you're going to get some extra sustain. And the Bumba just helps you out a ton in that regard, so probably a smart option. Dame, however, is on the way, Passover award. So I don't imagine Snatty is unaware of this gank, but can't really do too much if the dive comes his way. The CC immunity from both of those assassins would be a lot to deal with, but also you got to hit him, and Snatty's very quick, so I'm not going to go for that dive.
Snatty will have a decent bit of movement speed with that Trident, able to be stacked up for his passive with the Tidal meter. And if he elects to go towards a Doom Orb as well, that's something we have been seeing popularized with the Poseidons. I don't think we've seen it as much on the few Poseidon solo games that we have gotten to witness. I don't recall Dumore being a part of those builds. It's mostly just been whenever he's been running inside the mid or in the jungle. Actually, thinking about it, we haven't seen a lot of Poseidon jungle recently. It's mostly just been mid lane. There's Kraken, taken away from Snatty. Dame will go over to the Bat Out of Hell. We'll reset the tower over towards Delny. And the unfortunate part of a Poseidon solo against 2 assassins that can just go right around you.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was referring to. I think Snatty played that about as well as you can. It's just so much unjukable damage, and the fact that, I mean, all you can do is juke, right? You're not going to be able to immune any of that, and what do when Dame's up in the sky? You run around in circles, run to your tower safety, and hope you're fine. Well, Delny still had Mystic Rush, even if that fight went on a little bit longer, so it's just not going to be a fun matchup immediately into the breastplate. Probably a smart option, wanting some extra CDR and just physical protections. I think Snatty's certainly going to need a lifeline, but given the way that Sad Dragon played last time, probably just going to sit by and let him get camped.
Probably so. Sada not really putting a lot of favoritism towards the right side of the map. Has been letting Snatty kind of do his own thing for all 3 of these games. Delny even using the overhead kick aggressively to move towards Snatty, and then realizing that Snatty had walked into lane, will actually walk his way back on out. Neu was under threat a moment ago, but was able to juke out the Shadow Lock from Priv, so got to save his beads, at least for now. But it's 2-0 for the Athenian Sages on their start, about a 1K gold lead up. Some of that coming from that first blood bounty, a lot of it coming from their farm. Snoopy attacked on this side of the map. Hurrywin will go into the dance to try and get some damage. Needs a little bit more, and Sada Dragon will find it. Hurrywin still sticking alive. Dame able to get over the wall, and Primitive able to get out.
Well, this is what I've been waiting for. Whenever so much pressure is put to the right side of the map, you gotta look left, and it looks like Jengar goes in the home sweet home, immediately cancels it. I guess there's no other item to stack up. I was going to say, you get so much extra passive stacks in the house, so it's usually beneficial to wait. Nehu gets a ton of damage on a Dame. No abilities are going to finish there, though, and Dame gets out with that sliver HP, unless Sad Dragon chases all the way back. Not going to be the case, no blink available. But this is what I've been looking for. You know, we've been seeing how much the Sages put presence onto that solo lane. You expect to see Sad Dragon look for aggression on the left side of the map. Last game never really happened. This game, Sad Dragon said, I'm not making that mistake again. Finds the kill and left.
That's a wild thing I'm about to say.
Lay it on me.
It's the first kill that the Yomi Tanuki have gotten in almost 40 minutes of play.
That's true.
That's not a fun thing to say, but hey, at least they've gotten that kill, able to find one to at least keep themselves from being blanked in a second potential game. Not that I imagine that they would be blanked as close as it's been in the early stages of this one. Snatty, level 10, just falling behind a Delny in experience and also into health, and overhead kick gets away from the Kraken. Dame is here. Snatty jukes out one ability. Bat Out of Hell will not be juked out this time. Second swipe will kill. Third swipe will go back down, and Hurrywin can only sit by and watch as Snatty falls yet again.
Yeah, that just made me sad, but you really can't be when you knew Snatty picked this into that matchup. Snatty was well aware that was a Robin and still grabbed the Poseidon. It's just so hard to witness, you know, the overhead kick to avoid the Kraken, then here comes Dame with the Bat Out of Hell, and what are you doing then? You're trying to juke out 3 different swoops. That's not going to be easy to do. You know, we saw Dame on the Daji, but on the Camazotz, he's not missing those swipes, and he's able to confirm that kill. And once again, 0-2 for this Poseidon, and pushing a wave under is Delny, so you're going to miss out on even more farm. It's just a hard matchup to play for Snatty.
Talk about a bit of a throwback in Scylla style of builds. Back in the OG days when Poly was super crazy. Oh, and a blink. Wow. Did not notice that one until he just came through. I was looking at the Polynomicon. That was picked up second item. Not going to get a ton of value from it very early on, but kind of brings back to the OG days of Scylla, back when Poly used to hit for more than it does now. And you just get an easy one poly combo every single time on the enemy, so. You're going to reprise that here, and then a blink after. This is something.
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean, this is how I build Scylla. Not the build, but the relics. I always get blink just because no one expects it. And you're one of the safest mages in the game with that escape. That Sentinel just goes so far. Snatty confirms the blue buff, and it's going to hide from Dame once again. Guys, what is happening here? I can't wait to see how this plays out.
Snoopy, half HP. Hurrywin misses the sweep, but there was 3 people there no matter what. Somebody was going to get the kill on Snoopy. This time, it does end up being Bitey. A kill towards him. Primitive only has to watch and sit back as, unfortunately for him, his dual lane partner just got sat on in the lane.
That just reminded me of, like, Like, Mommy, can you check if there's a monster under my bed? Like, no, trust me, there's no monster under your bed. And then Snoopy just looks behind his tower like,
then the boogeyman pops up, just like Sada Dragons popped up in mid lane, takes a kill onto Jangaru. And now 3 for the Yomi Tanuki to tie up the kills that the Indian Sages have. 12 minutes in, a little bit more action, a lot more life out of Tanuki in this third game.
Oh yeah, they are coming out swinging like the Sages did in game number 2. This time around, they are not being set. Again, Snatty is 0-2, but still being able to find a decent amount of farm on this Poseidon. Level 12 to 13, it's not terrible. And stealing away some farm from Sad Dragon because of how much Sad Dragon's able to find on the left side of the map. So, you know, just forfeiting some farm to your solo lane is definitely the play here. If you're not going to look right and try and gank the Robin, which I don't think is the correct play, give him some of your farm, and I think that is going a long way here to make sure that Snatty can stay relatively in this lane, given how much presence Dame has been able to show, and Delny, in this particular matchup.
Oh, no. Snoopy.
Here we
Not
go.
again. Just leave him alone. Stop bullying him. Hurrywin will take up the tower. Who's going to get the kill this time around? Good stun onto Bitey, but just a chase onto Snoopy. Does not get an inch to breathe in the dual lane. Another kill for Bitey, another one down on Snoopy. Maybe, though, a turnaround up against Snatty, who's walked a little far forward. 2 assassins and a mage. Wow, Jangaru's health bar. Where did it go? That Kraken dealing quite a bit of damage over towards him. Not enough for the kill, though. 4-4 now is the kill.
Yeah, Nehu a little bit off the mark with the I'm a Monster. Would have been able to kill Jangaru for sure. Has the Aegis available, but in the house, you can't pop that Aegis. And the Pyromancer does go down. So 4-4, and the gold lead is certainly in favor for the Tanuki, but not by too much. Only about 700 gold in their favor. I mean, Sad Dragon still has the 2-0, Bitey still has the 2-0, Snoopy is non-existent at the moment. That is an 0-3 Hou-Yi. You gotta feel bad for the 3-level lead. Eventually, I hope.
You really just hit him with that. It's like, hey, he's 2-0, he doesn't exist.
I mean, he doesn't. He's not doing damage. He will eventually, and I feel for him. I hope he comes online, but it's certainly no threat to anyone on the map, given the position. And then you look at Bitey, and it's just like an axe comes through, Prib taking a ton of damage, but is able to hide.
Get him out, Jangaru, run away. Don't let your support die under his own tier 1 tower. Primitive able to make it out. Makes Jangaru able to get himself to the backside of that tier 1 tower.
Oh boy.
Has Delny stepped too far forward?
Nope.
No. No. As soon as I started asking the question, I'm like, no, the answer's no. Why am I even asking at this point? He's a level 15 Robin, 2.5 items into his build at this point. Not much is going to be killing him, especially if he's got ultimate and overhead kick still available.
Wow, Snatty actually itemized into not only the Shogun's Kasari, that's interesting, but that's not what I saw. Nehu is blinking in to hold that thought. Let's just watch how this goes. Dame gets chunked, but does have the bat out of hell.
Does have it, hasn't used it, sustains up a little bit with his own vampire bats. And now Snoopy has joined the fray, misses the ricochet, gets pulled in, and sat on the fire. Not much that Snoopy can do with that one. I'm a Monster does clip 2. And Delny diving into the back line. The bastion of hope for the Athenian Sages to stay alive in this fight. He has made his way in. Sada Dragon down to a quarter health, and Dame not wanting to dive in towards 3. Neudo does want to dive in. Dame gets pulled back in, and Hurrywin gets the kill.
Snatty is able to find Primitive in the back line, though, and that's a massive swing in favor for the Yomi Tanuki. You got to imagine this Gold Fury gets pulled. With these low health bars, though, Jangaru could walk up if feeling a little bit confident. Given the Relic situation, does have them both available. I'm already convincing myself that it could never happen either way. Without Home Sweet Home, I don't think you want to step up that far, and Jangaru thought the same thing and will just go for the farm. However, Snatty's also going for the farm and is trying to confirm as much as possible. He's just going to go for blue buff as well. Realizes he's dead and is going to steal it away on his way out. But maybe some fancy juke shoes to stall this one a little bit. So Snatty trying to get as much gold as possible. 1-4 on the Poseidon solo. Still farm-wise is in the game. You just looking at the opposition. Delny sitting 2-0 on the Robin, doing a little bit better.
Staying alive more than anything. But again, some of that counter matchup against the side makes it hard for Snatty to really deal with that. But the fact that Snatty is 1-4 and is only a level down to his opposition at this point is a testament to the amount of farm that he's been able to get on this god. Sada Dragon will confirm the blue buff for his soul laner. So a good jungler. Make sure that his teammate is able to get some. Well, no, Snatty's pretty quick. He might be able to get there in time. I was wondering, I was like, 18 seconds after respawn, is that enough time for Poseidon to get there? I think maybe so.
I mean, we're gonna get to see exactly how quickly he's able to join the fight as he goes for the Emerald Ring, so a more auto attack based style of build here for Snatty.
Can he make it?
And it looks like Sad Dragon is trying to rotate in onto Delny and try and find some aggression, but I just don't see this Robin ever dying. Got the beats, has the overhead kick, has the Mystic Rush. It looks like Sad Dragon recognized that as well and started looking towards where Pyromancer would be if it was available. It's not, and I don't think Fire Giant's being looked at either. This is really just some sort of a fight around the Greater Scorpion, maybe an invade onto that, or trying to find Dame.
Roll by Hurrywin against Dame does get some decent startup for the fight, but Hurrywin is in the back line,
Just
using
dancing.
his ultimate, just dancing on him right now, and not going to get much more beyond the dance down. He has joined the fray, finds a route onto Hurrywin, not going to get much more beyond there. Nehu goes into the back line and will immediately send and I'm a Monster out. Delny has pulled the Fire Giant to join the fray, and I'm a Monster will hit Jangar, but it burns through most of his shield. And now Jangar is on the run, and Sad Dragon has found his way to the back line. Ultimate in from Priv. Wills on Sad Dragon, but the Kraken will be there to take down Priv.
And it looks like Snoopy did make the rotation over, is trying to help out his team from behind, but Snatty and Sad Dragon are diving this tower. Snatty gets the triple kill.
Triple, gonna be good,
Oh,
not gonna get the fourth.
Bitey.
Bitey does take one away, and Snatty in the 1v1 against Snoopy. Juke as fast as you can. The Suns and the Ricochet will slow that down, so no Penta anyways. Even if Snatty wanted it, it'll be stripped away from him by not just a teammate, but by the enemy Hunter. Unfortunately for Snoopy, well actually maybe fortunately, he was able to get one off the killing spree. Finds a double kill, and that's big for Snoopy. Able to get 2 kills while being down so far. Still doesn't help he's at 5 deaths, but hey, double kill?
Well, I will personally apologize to Snoopy for saying that he was going to be useless in these team fights and not a threat to anyone, because he was able to find 2 kills there and certainly put himself a little bit closer to being back in this game. When you look over and see a 4-0 level 18 Uller, it certainly doesn't look good, but he was able to find 2 kills. So certainly not doing no damage. And with that Transcendence, those bounces were certainly swinging. So Snoopy, able to answer a couple kills back. Gold-wise, not looking too hot. The Yomi Tanuki are certainly in the driver's seat as this game continues. Delny just dishing out
axe.
some poke. Yeah, just a little quick axe on the way towards the blue buff, trying to stay as much farm as possible. But, given the fact that whole fight started with Hurrywin blinking in and then ulting essentially nothing, I didn't think it was going to go as well as it did.
Especially, when with how much utility that ultimate can have, the amount of sustaining it can give to your team, the amount of decent burst damage that it can do to some of the squishier targets. But Yomi Tanuki able to pull that fight out. 4,500 gold lead to their name, 20 minutes in, one of the larger leads that we've seen this game, or I should say the largest lead that I've seen this game. And that experience, very telling at this point, because nobody's hit level 20 yet, and you can see where that gap is. Dual lane, 3 levels down for Priv, 4 levels down for Snoopy.
Yeah, that's a level 20 Uller before 20 minutes. That just shows.
Just before 20.
Yeah, Mighty's been farming as much as possible. Nehu on this Scylla has been able to find so much damage as well. Seems to be going into, I'm assuming, the Typhon's Fang that would proc off the Lifesteal from Polynomicon, as well as an extra % penetration. I mean, the Scylla is going to be swinging, no doubt, and as this game continues, it seems like the Yomi Tanuki are trying to get more aggressive, right? Hurrywin has been at the forefront of these fights, just blinking in with that sweep, trying to set up as much damage as possible. Jangaru uses the pot early on, and it looks like trying to run away from the rest of the Tanuki.
Sada does find the ultimate, gets the ult out of Jangaru, who returns some damage up against Hurrywin, who's fighting in towards 3. Not a fight that Hurrywin is going to be winning anytime soon, but Snatty is rotated in. Kraken will take down Jangaru. You can't hit Delny, but you can hit the Baba Yaga. Hurrywin will heal himself up with his ultimate. Take a look at that second relic by Hurrywin. Maybe we get a chance to actually look at it now that this fight has gone away. Fully upgraded meditation.
Oh yeah, that's that cooldown med. He wants to be helping out his team as much as possible, making sure those abilities are always up, as we see the Trebuchet firing away in the mid lane tower, trying to get aggressive. Snoopy is in left and has been pinged, so I imagine a Fire Giant pull is entirely possible. Look at the damage that Snatty has. You got Bumba's Hammer, you got Demonic Grip. Nehu found Priv, not enough damage, so won't find the kill, but this is what I was waiting for.
Fire Giant pulled, and with that Bumba's Hammer online by Snatty, this one should go swiftly. Delny tries to stop that one, and look how tanky this man is. Still in the middle of 5. Walks away half HP, pulled back in, pushed back out, and then taken down by Sada Dragon. What a disorienting moment, at least for the Robin, is being knocked up, then pulled in by a sweep, then pushed out immediately after by a tidal wave.
Snoopy. Oh, that was close. I was like, if he doesn't kill with this auto attack, he might be forced to use that Aegis. But that was a calculated play, and he holds on to it as a tier 2 tower and right. It's being looked at here by the Tanuki. They've been trying to push their lead as much as possible. We saw Nehu go back just to make sure to defend that one, but Snaddy is here with the Kraken available. Looks like Whoopi grouping up for it.
Kraken hits 2. Jangaru, the primary receiver of that ultimate. He'll be forced to go back to the fountain. But with no minions, a lot of stuff baited out from the Sages. The Yomi Tanuki will walk away from the Phoenix. They got their win. They got beads and Aegises out of multiple players there, and they got an ultimate out of Snoopy.
Yeah, Jangaru had to use both relics, unfortunately, and Snoopy did use the Aegis as well, so that's going to be a massive team fight opener, as Snaddy is just being relentless on the assault, trying to make sure to be, oh my goodness, doing so much damage with this demonic grip and the Bombus Hammer procs. And finally, you know, Delny had quite the lead, no longer the case. This is a level 20 Poseidon, 5-5, so back to being even. How does he do it? Well, he's got a lot of help from his team this time around.
How did the 1-5 Poseidon hit level 20 before the 2-0 Robin? It's mind-boggling how this player does it, Tro.
Yeah, you know, I will say the Amaterasu. You know, and here's the thing about that. Nehu, like,
he was trying for the 360.
no, I'm aware of what he was doing, but my point is no one from the enemies were watching, right? The Sages had no idea that was going on, so that was just for our enjoyment. And like, there's no telling that we were even watching that. Nehu was going to do that.
Oh,
even,
that was amazing.
You know, we could have been spectating a bush at that time, I suppose. So Nehu did that just for the love of the 360.
Oh, yeah. Now you know what? Okay, so 360, 720. What was he going for, a 1080 at that point? What in the world was that? He had it. He had it lined up already. Nehu will maybe try and reprise his mistake from earlier on. Snoopy goes down. Sada Dragon, credit to the kill that time around. But man, I don't know how I can recover from watching it not just once, but twice.
Funny enough, Nehu didn't have ult for that blink there. Would have been able to just kill Snoopy because of the no relics. Either way, Wolbus drop a Kraken essentially for poke damage onto Priv and forcing out the leap from Dame. So much damage coming from the auto attacks from these mages. Bombus Hammer from Snaddy and the Polynomicon from Nehu.
Pulling the house? I've never seen that. He actually drugged the house with the whirlpool.
There's some weird interactions with the house.
That's such a cool interaction.
There are some weird interactions with that house.
Like, it doesn't really do anything. That does a lot, though. Sick him into crush, especially against some of these squishier targets. We'll get back to the fight on the left-hand side of the map. Hurrywin dancing around, jukes out. Death Ball from Privative. Phoenix not really taking a whole lot of damage until Bitey is able to finally get a couple of shots in. Left Phoenix goes down. Nehu and the Yama Monster will sink himself on away as fast as he can go and drops it. No, Dame finds the final auto right before the Yama Monster connects. And it's a 1-for-1 trade. Left Phoenix cracking onto Dame, and Snaddy just barely lives through, but Jangaru puts him down.
Well, finally, some fight back from the Athenian Sages. 2 dead on their side, but they were able to take Fire Giant off 2. Unfortunately, 2 Phoenixes also fall down. If it was just the left Phoenix, probably pretty happy with that, but losing mid Phoenix as well, not going to feel too good. Now the Omi Tanuki are able to back up and try and get some extra power spikes online, given the fact that they just got a ton of gold. A metric ton of gold in their favor.
Oh, not an Imperial ton?
No, just not to be confused with other tons. Just,
right, okay.
Yeah, so just a lot of gold.
Gotcha.
And it looks like, given, wow, the upgrades coming through are aplenty. Snaddy did end up getting the Doomorb last item, so wanted to get a little bit quicker. And I'm not happy with what I'm seeing from J-Max. I feel as if he's about to tell us the difference between an Imperial ton.
1,000 kilograms.
Yeah, I figured it was coming. He always has to make sure that we know.
Check.
He's always got to make sure that we know the most useless facts possible. He's not only looking out for me, he's looking out for you, the viewers.
Got to make sure the viewers know how much a metric ton is, because I wanted to confirm for myself. I thought it was 1,000 kilos, but I wasn't 100% sure. It is 1,000 kilos for those at home, because normally it's 2,000 pounds is a ton. So that's why when we convert it to metric, we got to make sure.
Yeah, just say pounds, man. This ain't Hogwarts.
What? What?
Anyways,
I'm not gonna make it to the end of this game if it goes any longer than like another 60 seconds. Thankfully, Nehu is speeding up that process. and finding a kill on Neu. Kraken gets Jangaru for a little bit of HP. Snatty is 3v1ing on the enemy side of the map and backs Jangaru into a locker, shoves him in it, and says, "You stink, kid."
Furrywind is dancing away as Dave finds a solo kill on the Satadragon. Brim is going to find down here shortly, and it looks like the Yomi Tanuki are looking for the right side Phoenix more than they want to end this game. But Snatty's like, no, I want to end this game. Damon, Delny still have a fair bit of damage here, but the Frenzy gets popped.
Damon to the back line, does manage to find some good damage against Neu, but Neu turns it around, finds his own double kill. Delny doesn't have the immunity to get out of the next Kraken. It'll be a deicide for the Yomi Tanuki and a win for them over the Athenian Sages to try and keep themselves out of the relegations. What a turnaround by the Yomi Tanuki. I mean, a game 2 where we saw essentially no fight out of them for 30+ minutes of gameplay. And now an explosive game number 3 by them. Yomi Tanuki find a good win.
Yeah, I gotta say, pretty poetic that Delny dies there to the Kraken. The first Kraken he's probably been touched by this whole game. Yeah, I mean, just being able to finally cycle out the amount of CC immunity Robin has. Just a little bit poetic there. Snatty doing unreasonable amounts of damage on that auto attack style Poseidon did with the Bumba Slammer late game. Nehu was on point. And I think the team as a whole, the Yomi Tanuki, just they got rolled over in game number 2 and they said never again. Like, we are not letting that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yomi Tanuki able to pull this one back in game number 3, find themselves a set win, a 2-1 over the Athenian Sages. And not an easy task for them to do, especially with Snatty, as we talked about through the entirety of that game, playing into a counter matchup that's bad for him. It's not like he was playing the better half of the counter matchup. He was playing into the bad match of his own. Never really found success against Delny or Dame anytime that those fights came his way. But when Snatty got out of the lane and jumped into these mid fights, these Fire Giants, these Gold Furies against literally anybody except for Dame and Delny, he found some massive damage out there.
Oh yeah, this is what
Snoopy.
Snoopy did not have a fun time in lane, man. Just with that 2 members hiding behind his tower, 1 in front of it, ready to find that gank. You just gotta feel, because there's not too much that Hoyi really has to try and disengage in a situation like that. But this is Snatty's triple kill when he was able to go from 1 and 4 to even.
Clutch.
And then, Snoopy did rotate in after the fact to get that kill. This could have been the Penta, but Bitey steals this kill.
He does. That Triton was actually about to hit, too.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, it was units away. Don't do it to me a 3rd time, no! It was bad enough trying to hold my own through 2. I couldn't. That's the problem, is I couldn't even hold my own during the first one. Definitely couldn't hold it the 2nd time. Now you show it to me a 3rd time in a row. Put that one in your highlight reel. Actually, don't put that in the highlight. Put that in your meme-tage reel, if anything, Neu, because that got a good laugh out of me at the very least. That brightens up my day. It's starting to get dark outside. It started raining earlier on. It's hitting 7:30. We're starting to hit the later hours of the night. 4 SCC sets to go through, Trelly, and all 4 of them go the full distance to game number 3. And we get to end out with the Yomi Tanuki closing out their set for a win.
Yeah, at least it was exciting, right? It wasn't like a full one-sided 12-0. This last game here, there was some answer back from the Sages. I think they were able to find some success, those ganks onto Snatty, because Poseidon isn't the safest character in the game. They did come out swinging, but fortunately for the Yomi Tanuki, and given the fact that standings are so important right now, they were able to come back in. I'm going to say climb back. Getting blanked in game number 2 is not easy. In a 3-game set, you do not want your mental to go to places like that where you're just like, we couldn't even get a kill against these guys. How are we going to be able to take them on? And they keep their mental strong.
Well, even though we are in the final week of the SCC, we still have one more NA-SCC set to go, and one more EU. We talked about that one earlier. That's taking place tomorrow. But our last NA-SCC set of this phase, of this round robin, it's going to be the Eldritch Hounds and the Anansi Weavers. That takes place on Saturday, 11 a.m. to start out the day. We had a 2-1 for the Callan Wardens to get a win over the Shabalba Storm, and a 2-0 for the Yomi Tanuki over the Athenian Sages. Now down to our final NA-SCC set. As I said, that takes place on Saturday, kicking off the day. So make sure you can tune in to see if the Eldritch Hounds maintain that undefeated record of theirs. The Anansi Weavers, I'll be blunt. They have a tall hill to climb up against this. So 4-0 Hounds, and the Weavers have only just been getting their footing going as far as everything else has been concerned. So the Anansi Weavers, they're really going to have to fight to find a good win against the Hounds.
Oh, you're saying they have a tall hill to climb. I thought you meant to qualify, which would still be true, but you're saying
no,
to beat the Eldritch Hounds.
Just to find a win against the Eldritch Hounds is more than anything. If they can find a win, that's massive. But I don't believe the Anansi Weavers are going to be able to pull themselves out of that bottom 2 regardless of the scenario.
What do you bring to climb a hill? Like,
Climbing picks, probably some cleats, maybe.
Well, that's like a mount, but I'm saying like what like
some cleats.
Okay,
some
so
spikes on some cleats with spikes at the very least.
Let's hope
sure
the Weavers bring some some sort of pulley system. And
well, wait, they're spiders, aren't they?
Well, that's true.
They have 8 legs to climb up. They don't need any kind of shoes or cleats or anything.
All right, so the Weavers just amply prepared to try and climb this hill, which is the Eldritch Hounds who are waiting on top with barking at them, I suppose, like hounds do. It's gonna be a tough one, but hey, this whole circuit has been pretty tightly knit. The standings, and besides the Hounds who have still yet to fall, they've lost games before, not sets, games, so they can bleed. It's just can the Weavers find them?
But that's going to do it for us in the NASCC and the SEC in general today. Make sure to tune back in tomorrow at 11 a.m. when we kick off our second day of Smite Esports. I'm J-Mag. It's been on behalf of us and all the casters and production behind the scenes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.